those cornerstones that he claimed or asserted were not met. Section 12406 included there's no invasion, there's no rebellion. It's absurd. And so we're gratified.
Judge blocks Trump's
today is a big day
for the National
Guard,
for the
United States, for
they got him right up out of there.
And I hope it's the beginning of a new day in this country where we push back against overreach. We push back against these authoritarian tendencies of a president that has pushed the boundaries, pushed the limit, but no longer can push this state around any longer.
The courts overturned Trump's rule, guys, about the troops being in L.A. They have taken the troops out of L.A.,
what
guys.
happened to Senator Padilla, not through the blue or red lens, but through your own set of eyes.
The
and just
judge
tell me
blocked
that
Trump's
that's
order.
Right. Here's a United States Senator in his home state, in a federal building, in his office building, that wishes to join a press conference not dissimilar to this and express himself.
The judge blocked Trump's orders, guys.
And was handcuffed, was thrown down to the ground, a United States Senator. And anyone that knows Alex Padilla knows one thing about Alex Padilla. He's one of the most mild-mannered,
Governor Newsom's speech
decent people you'll meet.
finding
And that's
out
don't
that
just
they
take my
denied
word
Trump
for it.
order.
Folks on the other side of the aisle would acknowledge that. I thought it was a disgrace. I want to make this clear. The National Guard will come back under my authority by noon tomorrow. The National
Newsom
Guard
is bringing the National Guard back
to what they were doing before Donald Trump commandeered them. The National Guard will go back to border security, working on counter-drug enforcement and fentanyl enforcement, which they were taken off by Donald Trump. The National Guard will go back to working on what we refer to as the rattlesnake teams, doing vegetation and forest management, which Donald Trump took them off in preparation for wildfire season. The National Guard, men and women, will go back to their day jobs, which
against Newsom, but Newsom won, guys.
That he took them off the job. Just want you to all absorb what I just said. By the way, you don't have to absorb it. You'll have an opportunity to review that in the 36-page order from Justice Breyer that laid that out. And they'll come back under the rightful command of the governor of the state of California.
Governor, what happened the protesters who plan to demonstrate on Saturday in response to this military event?
Do it peacefully. It's a vulgar display. It's the kind of thing you see.
Continue to double tap that screen, guys. Get the lights
Putin,
up.
You see with dictators.
They're saying that Newsom won, guys.
That are weak and just want to demonstrate strength. Weakness masquerading as strength. To fet the dear leader on his birthday.
He said he would disperse the California National Guard as needed, not Trump.
How weak do you have to be to commandeer the military to fet you on your birthday in a vulgar display of weakness? That's Donald Trump.
Get the lights up, guys. Click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. We 100 deep with 15 likes.
Well, these governors
Get the lights
have all been
up.
waiting for this decision. I haven't had a chance to talk to any governors. And by the way, every Republican governor. I remember one of them by the name of Kristi Noem, who just a few months ago was on there with one of the spokespeople for the Trump administration, Sean
Thank you, Ms. Pooh Bear.
And was going on and on and on about a rumor that somehow former President Biden was going to federalize her national troop. And she stood there talking about freedom and federalism, the 10th Amendment. And here she is, you know, her folks throwing the United States Senator from the great state of California on the ground and handcuffing
This is Newsom's reaction
in his office building
to a judge basically blocking Trump's demand to put the National Guard in L.A. Basically, they gotta
there's been
go.
a lot of rhetoric from Pete Hegseth, that's his name, that they've quote unquote been deployed, but it doesn't appear they have been. But they were making you believe that. And so I think the judge was waiting for the evidence that they actually had been deployed into Los Angeles, which they appear not to be. Of course, they're not coordinating with anybody on this. So he's just waiting for that evidence. Obviously, they moved to another location for training exercises. But here's the bottom line. The police do policing. Military, it's for the battlefield. The idea that these unbelievably brave young men and women that I work with, that we have had the benefit of their extraordinary contribution all across this state. I gave you 3 examples. What more evidence do we need of the work they did for the wildfires in Los Angeles and all the work they did to secure locations and keep property and personal lives safe over the course of the last few months? These folks are now being commandeered to do ICE raids. You've seen the photographs. That
continue to get those likes up, y'all. We're 200 deep. Hit those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. This is Newsom responding to a judge overturning Trump's
these heroes would be used
sending the National Guard to Los Angeles.
American city is an abomination. Founding fathers did not live and die to see that happen in this country for no reason whatsoever than vanity, theater, to instill fear, to incite a response. So I'm very hopeful this order puts that in perspective, and hopefully Donald Trump will immediately back down. The courts have ruled on the guard. They will be back under my command, and he'll be relieved. Donald Trump will be relieved of his command at noon tomorrow.
So tomorrow, Donald Trump will be removed from his command, guys. Double tap that screen, get the lights up.
Also mentioned that
Newsom won.
With the president in the past.
Of course.
Has this situation changed your dynamic with the president?
No, because I will work with anyone to advance the interests of 40 million Americans that I happen to represent here in California. And so I've always maintained an open hand, not a closed fist. But I also am going to stand firm and tall and push back against lawlessness, against someone that does not believe in the rule of law, does not believe in constraints, does not believe in the Constitution, who is threatening judges.
How do y'all feel about that?
Not to abide by orders, and Donald Trump better abide by these orders.
He said
Well, we have a
Trump better.
constitutional crisis.
Trump said he better abide by.
He
He said Trump better abide by these orders.
That will be determined by
From the
fate
courts.
and future, but also fundamentally by whatever decision he makes. That's how things break down.
Governor,
It's a federal judge with a federal order. Period, full stop. It's the rule of law. These are the foundational principles of a constitutional democracy. He must work under the constraints as a constitutional
can we get the lights
officer
up, guys?
of the
We 300
Constitution
deep.
of the United
Click
States
those
of
3
America.
dots, hit the
That's
thumbs
what
up
this
for the live. It
court
helps the
order
channel.
demands
Double tap
of the
that
President
screen
of
if
the
you're on
United
the mobile
States.
device,
He's not a
y'all.
monarch.
Get the lights
He's not a
up.
king, and he should stop acting like one.
Governor, when's the last time you spoke with the president?
I spoke to him on Friday night.
He said Trump is
He
not
had a
the king.
mysterious conversation
He should
with
not
me
be
3 days
acting like
later.
one.
You can't even make this stuff up.
Attorneys for the government seem to
read out of that conversation. Do you have a readout?
Oh, I would love to share the readout, but I revere the office of presidency, so I'll keep it in confidence. He has quite literally made up components of that conversation.
Wow,
He's been
guys.
stone cold. liar.
Newsom standing up against
About
Trump.
what he
Double
said
tap
he
that
talked
screen,
about.
get the
He
likes
never
up. We
discussed the
400
National
people in the
Guard,
building.
period, full
Only
stop.
got 34 likes.
I would
It's
love
free,
to share
guys.
with
If
you
you're
what
on a
he
mobile
actually
device,
talked about.
double
That would
tap
send
your
shivers
screen
up your
or click
spine.
those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up.
They seem to imply that that Friday call.
Subscribe to the channel if you are new.
That this was coming, or can you confirm whether or not you knew that this was coming, this order was coming?
Of course not. Yeah, no, absolutely not. We were back and forth with Susie Wiles as chief of staff. I then called mayor of Los Angeles, saw a missed call from the president, called him back. I actually texted him back, you want full disclosure? And he called me right back. We discussed for a nanosecond.
Hey, they
Los
want
Angeles
Newsom,
and
they
immediately
want him
zipped and zagged
arrested.
into 7
But
or 8 other
Newsom
topics.
won in court, guys.
Some extraordinarily familiar.
Trump will be
and
relieved
some
of his
extraordinarily
duty
remarkable.
at 12 o'clock
considering
tomorrow as
the
far
world we're living
as
in.
bringing
I
the National
learned
Guard
about
to
it when I
Los
saw some
Angeles,
tweet
guys.
about
Breaking news.
Governor Newsom, a nickname, by the way, that's hardly original. There was an 8th grader on Baltimore Street in Corte Madera that used to call me that. And the reference to the National Guard being commandeered in that same tweet. That's how I learned about it.
Governor, are you confident for one will stand on appeal, especially if it gets to the Supreme Court?
Well, I'm confident in the rule of law. I'm confident in the Constitution of the United States. I'm confident in
Come
the
on,
wisdom
y'all. Continue to get those likes up so we can hear what he's saying. Click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, man.
And I'm confident
It's not for
on
Newsom,
the
it's
basis
for the
of the review
channel.
of the 36 pages, absolutely, it will stand.
Governor, does this order go even further than you expected? I think your attorneys had asked for them to simply be restricted to federal buildings.
I'll just say we're extraordinarily pleased by the 36-page ruling of Justice Breyer.
Can you speak to some of the journalists about some of the journalists in LA who have been hit with rubber bullets or?
Well, there's
This
2
is Newsom's
investigations.
response to
One
winning.
we initiated with the California Highway
Getting the
Patrol.
National
And
Guard
there's
out
one
of California,
that has been
guys.
initiated independent by the LAPD. And people should feel safe. Reporters absolutely should feel safe. And we'll get to the bottom of it. I don't want to prejudge, but I'm concerned about them. That's why we advanced the investigations.
Governor, today in San Francisco, immigration attorneys tell us that there were 3 additional folks who were detained while heading into the ICE court offices on Sansom. This is some of just many detentions.
I see y'all down there saying support. Deport. We need 40 more likes, guys. Click those 3 dots, hit that likes, hit the thumbs up button. It helps out the channel, guys. Get the likes up. It's free.
These detentions occurring in your communities around California.
Well, he's on, let's just dispense. This is not about criminals. If it's about criminals, got no beef with me. We want to secure our border. We need comprehensive immigration reform.
25 more likes
We need
to
a pathway
100,
to
guys.
citizenship for
Get the
people being
likes
10,
up.
15, 20 years, contributing, paying their taxes, being remarkable members of our community. But that's not
What's
what this
up,
is
the
about.
real mayhem?
I was in Oxnard, California,
Shout out
Ventura
to all my
County
moderators.
yesterday.
Shout
Met
out to
with 3
everybody in the
people.
building. I see y'all.
3 people directly
Please double tap
impacted
that screen
by
if you're on a mobile
indiscriminate
device, or click
raids.
those 3
I
dots,
met
hit
a
that thumbs
12-year-old
up.
boy
Subscribe to the
in
channel if you're
6th
new.
grade, weeping, crying, tears pouring down his face. His mother and father were both detained. They disappeared. He has no brothers, no sisters, no family. He quite literally is on his own, abandoned. That's Donald Trump's
What's
America.
up, Mrs. Anita?
20 plus years, his mom and dad working in the same fields, doing the same packing and shipping. 20 plus years. They've disappeared. 12-year-old boy. You saw the images of ICE officers running through strawberry fields. CBP,
Newsom won,
helicopters
guys.
above.
The National
a
Guard
woman,
will be
a single
removed from
mother
Los Angeles
who was
as
walking out
of
at
12 o'clock
5:45
tomorrow.
a.m. to get in her car. 7 agents surrounded her. They took her in a car, in essence kidnapping her, driving her around for almost 2 hours until she finally convinced the agent, because she has 3 young children, a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and an 8-year-old, that they needed to get to school, and there's no one to help them get to school. She was finally allowed to call her oldest daughter, who was interrogated by the agent and threatened. And they threatened her after they dropped her off, said, "We may be back."
Newsom won, guys.
Terrorizing this single mother. No criminal record, no criminal background. I met another young woman whose husband has quite literally disappeared. No criminal record. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't even know what happened.
Keep
That was
those
just
lights
yesterday. That's
moving,
Donald
man. With
Trump's
900
America.
people in the building. Y'all click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It
Agricultural
helps out
workers.
the channel.
Think about that when you
Subscribe
have
to the
dinner
channel
tonight.
if you're new, guys.
Think about when you
Newsom
enjoy your
won.
first
The troops
course.
will be removed
Have some fresh fruit,
from Los
some fresh
Angeles.
vegetables. Who provided those? Who supported you in that? Think about it when you go home and the construction around your property. Or maybe you're getting a remodel. Who's doing that work? Destroying not only the foundations of our democracy, the best, again, of the Roman Republic and Greek democracy, but now our economy is at risk because of the recklessness and the cruelty of Donald Trump, the indiscriminate cruelty of Donald Trump. Why else do you go to a 7-Eleven? Why else do you go to a nail salon?
Wow, guys, can y'all believe that Newsom won, guys? The troops will be removed from Los Angeles.
It's not about
Please
criminals.
double tap that screen. Get the likes up, guys.
That's
Get the
about creating
likes up.
chaos.
If you're on a mobile device,
And I do not believe the
double
American
tap
people,
your
the majority of the
screen,
American
or click
people
those three
support
dots,
that.
hit
Quite
that thumbs
the
up.
contrary.
Subscribe to the
And
channel
so
if you're new.
this decision was important because it's about constraints, it's about limits, it's about our democracy. And that's why we're very grateful by the order.
What do you mean he didn't win? The judge blocked the military in LA.
Well, I think
How
the
did
courts
he
will.
not win?
I think that's
That is what he was shooting for,
these
to get the National
separations of
Guard
power.
removed.
It's
And,
the
and the judge
co-equal
most definitely said
branches of government.
they have to go
Co-equal,
by
Mr.
12
President,
tomorrow.
branches of government. He's eliminated one, or they eliminated themselves. That's called Congress. Speaker Johnson, who his eloquence was elevated when he called to, quote unquote, tar and feather the governor of California. That's the speaker. Very religious man. I guess that's his spirit. The word, the Lord. He's abdicated any oversight and responsibility over the President of the United States. There's one branch remaining, and that's the judicial branch. So my response to you is we count on the judicial branch. But there's also, as I said, I ended that speech 48 hours ago. I said there's the most important office, and that's office of citizen. That's all of you. Stepping up, stepping in, and sharing your passion with action. Pushing back against this peacefully, and sharing your voice. And I think this weekend there will be millions and millions of Americans rightfully expressing their outrage, their constitutionally protected right to assemble and free speech, peacefully expressing that all across this country. I pray that's the case.
Wow, guys. Y'all continue to hit that like button, click those three dots, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new.
California farm workers from deportation, given what you...
This is what he does. He creates a problem, and then he tries to be a hero in his own Marvel movie.
He's saying that Trump created this problem.
Did it on fill in a blank on almost every topic, creates the problem, and then tries to do a make-believe.
What's up, Caesar?
As if you're all perfect little sheep, and you're going to go on with it to be the hero in his own
We're 60 likes
Marvel
away from 200,
movie.
Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit the thumbs up. It helps out the channel, man. This is the latest in breaking
He wants the
news.
National Guard. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guardsmen and women now being dispersed everywhere, sprinter vans, unmarked, people with masks, running in, rolling over, some case running into cars.
I don't make the news, guys. I just find it and present it to y'all. Double tap that screen, man. Hit the like button.
Left.
This is not my action for him to basically win. This was the judge. It got nothing to do with me. Double tap the screen, guys.
That happened because of you. It happened because of the American people, because they stood up. And that should give us some optimism. Thank you all very, very much.
That was Newsom, guys.
You have been following this
Dang, that's crazy.
by Governor Newsom just now.
Newsom.
We are beginning the NBC4 News at 7, I guess a little bit early here. This all stems, Kathy, from the decision by the federal judge today. He has blocked the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard in Los Angeles. That decision, though, was stayed until noon tomorrow, our time. The Trump administration
They stayed it until noon tomorrow.
Yeah, stayed until noon tomorrow, so it would give the Trump administration time to go in and appeal. That has already happened. Right now, we're joined by our legal analyst, Royal Oakes, to give us some legal insight into all of this. Royal, if now that they've appealed, what happens next?
Well, Kathy and Carolyn, the next step is tomorrow at noon. Trump has to go to the Ninth Circuit and say, I'm appealing this decision, and that's why the judge stayed, put on the shelf this order until noon tomorrow. Now, who knows if the Ninth Circuit is going to want to help Donald Trump, but that's the very next step. And as you've reported, what's happening next week is there's going to be another hearing a week from tomorrow, Friday of next week, as to whether to make this ruling the judge made today permanent through a trial a year or two down the road. So Trump will be able to file a brief next week. The Newsom administration will be filing a brief next week. But the immediate action is going to be in the Ninth Circuit tomorrow to see whether they will put this ruling on the shelf.
Okay, so just moments ago, Royal, we know that the Trump administration did in fact appeal. So it's now before the Ninth Circuit. And they can choose to hear it, to not hear it, to stay this once again. I mean, I assume that's what the Trump administration is hoping for. Could that happen?
Yeah,
as of right now, Newsom won.
Carolyn.
They sent it to appeals. They put a stay till 12 tomorrow.
This is a clean sweep victory for Gavin Newsom on all of the issues. The first question was whether what's going on in Los Angeles is really a rebellion, and this judge rejected it. He said the
judge rejected it. Continue to get those likes up. Click the three dots. Hit that thumbs up. Get the likes up. It helps out the channel.
The second issue was whether Trump blew it by not asking for Governor Newsom's approval. This judge said that I'm not even going to get to the point as to whether Newsom has a right to veto the request to federalize National Guard troops. The fact is, the judge concluded today in his 36-page opinion,
y'all need to do some research.
And because of that, he lost on that ground. And the final issue that the judge ruled against the Trump administration on is that the military, and they're not supposed to do the work of police officers. So he embraced this notion that has been a part of American history. We don't want the Army to go in.
The troops are there till 12 o'clock tomorrow.
So, yeah, the action will move to the Ninth Circuit now.
Something wrong with y'all.
Most of the judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals have been appointed by Democrat presidents, and so Donald Trump probably can't be too optimistic that they're going to flip this ruling that happened today.
So all of this is tied up in the courts. We heard the governor say noon tomorrow, the National Guard comes back under my control. So what does happen at noon tomorrow with the National Guard?
Let's see what happens at noon tomorrow.
Well, at noon tomorrow, unless the Ninth Circuit gives good news to Donald Trump, they could theoretically say, well, I'm not going to finalize or approve this order yet. But probably what will happen is that at noon, the control of the National Guard will return to Governor Newsom.
Newsom won. Newsom, see? Y'all got selective hearing. This man is saying this right in front of y'all face, and y'all still talking about, well, it's still, no, Newsom won.
But it won't be under Trump's control. It'll be back under Newsom's control.
It is a bit, I mean, this is so unusual. We've never really experienced anything like this, and we've already heard Pete Hegseth saying, you know, perhaps he will not be abiding by this, although I don't know how Pete Hegseth could get involved with the National Guard, but certainly Pete Hegseth can control marine operations, I would imagine.
So that's the scary part about this. And of course, for the last couple of months, we've been talking about the possibility of a constitutional crisis. In other words, where a federal court says you do X, and somebody in the Trump administration says, no, we're not going to do that. They don't say, oh, well, we're going to appeal, and then we'll abide by it if the U.S. Supreme Court says we lose. Instead, the question is, will they at any point ignore a federal court order? Now, for Hegseth to say something along the lines of, well, I'm not sure if a single federal judge has the power to dictate foreign policy and national security issues.
We're 1,000 deep. Can y'all please click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new.
It, even if the courts say absolutely you must abide by it. You know, it gets back to that old historical thing we've talked about Andrew Jackson, the president of the 1800s, saying to a chief justice, you've made your ruling, now you enforce it. Because the court doesn't have a standing army, whereas Jackson does have that. So we're not to that point, but the comments by Hegseth certainly do raise some concerns and make people nervous as to whether they're creeping toward this constitutional crisis.
And Royal, we always bring you in when we're trying to understand something. Have you ever seen anything on this level, or what do you compare it to, if anything?
This is very weird. You know, back in the day in the 50s, when the southern states refused to desegregate schools, President Eisenhower sent in the National Guard, even though the southern governors didn't want him to go in.
Let's get those likes up, guys. Click those three dots, hit the thumbs up.
Civil rights
I'm not on neither side. I'm just reporting the news to y'all that Newsom won. A judge blocked Donald Trump deploying troops, and by 12 tomorrow, the authority will be given back to Newsom, and he will remove the National Guard from California.
Yeah, we're in uncharted territory, Kathy, and we just hope that it'll sort out and hope that the federal government, of course, abides by whatever decisions are made by the federal judges.
Roy, you mentioned a constitutional crisis, and we're not there yet. We heard Governor Newsom saying, the Constitution sets forth limits, there are constraints. This was a big victory for democracy and for those 40 million of us living in California, but it certainly by no means is over yet.
No, it isn't. But the anxiety level is so high. I have to tell you, not to get too personal, but some of my best friends are folks from Argentina. And when they talk to me about what's been happening in the last few months, they say that we've seen this movie before. We've seen people who disappear. We've seen the government slip toward fascism, and they're convinced that's where we're headed. But the other side of the coin is
Can we get the lights up? We got 800 people in the building. Click those 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, y'all. It's free. If you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen. We're 50 lights away from 300.
Two diametrically opposed views among the population. Again, let's just hope everybody can get behind whatever the federal judiciary decides, because that's the way the Constitution says the system should work. Checks and balances, balance of powers. And if the courts say you got to do something, you don't ignore that. You have to follow the rules.
All right. We certainly hope that's what we see. Royal Oaks, we so appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us tonight.
You bet.
Thank you, Royal. And we should tell you that the NBC4 News at 7 begins right now.
You're watching.
This is
That
crazy.
breaking news, a federal judge has ruled the Trump administration exceeded their authority when they federalized the California National Guard, and that the administration must return control of the Guard to Governor Newsom.
Newsom
The
won once
administration did
again.
just appeal the order to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and Judge Charles Breyer had issued a stay on his own order until noon tomorrow, leaving time for the president to do just that with the appeal. We just brought you live the governor reacting to that ruling, calling it a good day for democracy.
He also reacted to that confrontation between a Secret Service and Senator Alex Padilla. NBC4's Conan Nolan's in our newsroom. He has much more on all of this. Conan.
That's right. The governor going on to say today's order makes clear that President Trump is not above the constitutional restraints. The president is a constitutional officer. He works under the Constitution. Now, keep in mind that Charles Breyer, the judge in this case, U.S. District Court out of San Francisco, saying that the 3 provisions that Mr. Trump, the president, had used in order to nationalize the California National Guard do not hold up to scrutiny. There's no rebellion against the government taking place. There's no invasion into the United States from a foreign country. And the president is not unable to institute or practice or enforce the laws of the country without having to nationalize the California National Guard. Here's what the governor said moments ago.
It's a federal judge with a federal order. Period, full stop. It's the rule of law. These are the foundational principles of a constitutional democracy.
We're 25 likes away from 300, guys. Click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It's free. Whether you like the information or not, it most definitely helps out the channel, guys.
This court order
I'm not on either
of the
side.
President of the United States. He is not a monarch. He is not a king, and he should stop acting like one.
Now, the governor responded to the San Francisco District Court. By the way, Charles, appointee of President Clinton, so you can assume that the Trump administration is going to say that this is a partisan ruling as they're appealing it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The governor also responding to a remarkable incident that happened earlier today in the federal building on Wilshire Boulevard in Westwood.
We need more likes. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device. Or click those 3 dots, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new.
And handcuffed by federal authorities. It is now emblematic of the confrontation that is taking place between the state of California and the federal government over immigration law. It was a theme repeated during the news conference by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, the hyperbolic demeaning of Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. This while celebrating the largely unwelcome federal response.
We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country.
In the audience, U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, who later said he had heard enough.
Do this.
Hands up. Sir.
Wow.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla.
Padilla told MSNBC that he was simply interrupting Noem with a question when he was hustled out of the room.
Wow.
With federal agents then putting him on the floor where he was temporarily handcuffed.
Kept repeatedly asking themselves, why am I being detained? No answer. Why am I being detained? No answer. They were non-communicative until somebody from, I'm sure, Secretary Noem's team figured out I was who I said I was, and finally said, let him go.
How do you characterize what happened?
It's not about me, Conan. It's not about me. Just think, if they can do this to a United States senator who has the audacity to ask a question, just imagine what they're doing to so many people across the country, or can do to do to anybody around
they
the country.
arrested
After
him.
the incident, Padilla then met with the DHS secretary for 15 minutes. Did it clarify anything?
No.
Noem says she did not hear Padilla identify himself and claimed that he had lunged at her, but that their meeting went well.
Continue to double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes
and
up.
identified himself and let us know who he was and that he wanted to talk. His approach, was something that I don't think was appropriate at all. But the conversation was great, and we're going to continue to communicate.
The remarkable moment proving to be emblematic of the conflict now underway over unprecedented immigration raids throughout Southern California. Democrats outraged Governor Gavin Newsom moments ago.
And anyone that knows Alex Padilla knows one thing about Alex Padilla. He's one of the most mild-mannered, decent people you'll meet. And that's not, don't just take my word for it. Folks on the other side of the aisle would acknowledge that. I thought it was a disgrace.
He says
That
it
is
was
also
the
the term that
disgrace.
was used by Democrats on Capitol Hill, demanding an investigation, certainly an apology. Alex Padilla says he would like one as well. Meanwhile, Homeland Security and the agents in the room said that they did not recognize the senator and that they believed he actually made a move toward the secretary, that they were acting in the best interest of safety for the cabinet official. And once they learned who he was released. I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News.
That's crazy, y'all.
Day, Conan. Meanwhile, Mayor Bass here in Los Angeles held her own news conference about what happened to the senator. Let's get right to NBC4's Robert Kovacic. He was present for that. Robert.
All right, Carolyn, let's go back and talk about that news conference if we can.
Continue to double tap that screen, guys. Get the lights
Karen
up.
Bass reminding everyone that Alex Padilla is the first Latino senator from the state of California. She thought it was incredible for anyone to believe that they wouldn't recognize him when he walked into that news conference. She said she spoke to the senator to make sure he was okay, to make sure he was uninjured. Then she looked directly into the camera and talked to Kristi Noem and said to the secretary, who she was in Congress with for almost a decade, and she said, Kristi, I don't recognize who you are anymore. But Karen Bass said she does recognize the city of Los Angeles and was surrounded by about 100 community leaders saying this is a city of immigrants and this is a city that does not need not only the federal raids, but federal intervention. And so now we are here. It is after 7 o'clock. We are coming upon day 3 of the curfew. And I just want to give you a sense. Remember the idea that the National Guard was coming in here to help because LA was going to be a lawless place. Well, this is the place of lawlessness right now, if you will. This is downtown Los Angeles. You can see members of the LAPD there here just waiting for any type of trouble or any type of protest. We saw a couple of hundred protesters. They were very
no, they went back to when he did. What I just showed you was today. They went back in order to talk about what happened to that
they did not
Congress.
cause any trouble.
But it's most definitely not a recording.
You have to consider what we did witness last night. Let's show you some video. We had this live on the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock.
This is what they
there
did,
were
but this is most definitely
we understand
today.
that these were protesters who were involved here at Grant Park.
Yes, they did that on their own. I most definitely didn't do that. They went back to show you what happened to that senator, that day and what was said about that. But as far as what Newsom said, that was all today, sir. So calm down there.
About 7:30 last night, who ended up marching about 5 miles all the way to the heart of Koreatown, Western and Beverly. There was an ugly confrontation with police officers. the LAPD putting up a skirmish line. There was foam batons that were fired on the crowd. There were dispersal orders made, and then if you continued on with NBC4 News, there was even a pursuit involving someone who apparently attacked a police officer to some degree. So with that said, we are on night 3 of the curfew. Does the curfew zone, that 1 mile square radius, need to be extended? Does the curfew need to continue? These were the questions we posed to Mayor Bass this afternoon.
Go look it up. You will most definitely see.
Is it going to continue? How long is it going to continue? Does the zone need to be expanded after we saw last night in Korea?
Well, I don't think the zone needs to be expanded. Unfortunately, we will continue the curfew. And my hope is after continuing it a few more days, that people will get the message that we are serious. The arrest that took place last night was not for looting, was not for violence. It was for unlawful assembly and curfew violation. What I noticed when I was traveling the streets late last night is that the people that were out on the streets were young people waving flags, and they were not violent. That was not the group that has committed the vandalism.
So curfew night 3 is about to get underway, but Carolyn and Kathy, since the ICE raids began a week ago.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit to some more events of today, since they done backtracked to show what happened with that senator and what the mayor had to say about it. All right, so they had some freedom protesters basically take to the streets of LA today. They held their own press conference telling the protesters to know their rights. Hold on, check this out. Let me bring it up. You know, they most definitely was out in full effect. Check this one out. What's up, Brenda? These are officials telling the protesters to know their rights, guys.
El pueblo. El pueblo. Jamás será vencido. El pueblo. Jamás será vencido. 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 Good morning, family. How are you this morning? Considering that we are pressed on all sides, but not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Not abandoned, because we are here together. Struck down, but not destroyed. We always carry around in our bodies the death.
These are the freedom officials calling for all of the protesters to know their rights.
In our bodies and in our communities. For we who are alive always being given over to death by the system so that life may be revealed in our mortal bodies and mortal bodies. Come on, somebody, as we lift up our humanity in our God. We are all human beings. The first people I would like to recognize, because we have to understand how these ice rays are affecting our communities on the ground.
Tell me if you agree with what's being said.
The merchants are suffering because folks are afraid to come and patronize the businesses because they're afraid of ICE. So now you're creating poverty and compounding poverty, especially from folks who are hardworking and have had a vision, come on, somebody, for their own communities. And so while we are here, I would like to call to the microphone the president of SCIU 721 to give us a synopsis. Give it up for David Green.
Good morning, brothers, sisters, and siblings. How are you feeling this morning? We're in the birthplace of Los Angeles. I am so proud. My name is David Green. I'm the president and executive director of SEIU Local 721. We represent 100,000 public sector workers in Los Angeles, including nurses, eligibility workers, and my profession, children's social workers. Can we hear it for the members of 721? I woke up a week ago today and walked in my office at SEIU 721, and I noticed a commotion across the street at the Home Depot, right across the street.
This is Los Angeles, guys.
My home. And I saw vans detaining innocent people and people being swept up in these raids. I saw people being detained without due process. I saw people being detained because of the color of their skin. I saw people being detained because the language that they speak. In our home city of Los Angeles, is that acceptable? And it made me disgusted. And it made me mad. And a couple hours later,
somebody said, okay, wait, oh well, bye.
From my brother, my colleague, named David Huerta, who was detained not far from our local, not too far from here. And I felt disgusted and sick about what happened with him.
But they is down there tripping. Somebody said, oh well, bye.
And I decided this is a turning point for the labor movement. This is a turning point for our community. And when we're faced with adversity, we stand up and we fight back and we let the world know we're not going anywhere. We let the world know our voices will not be silenced. Are your voices going to be silenced? We're not going to let it happen. We are here because for the next 30 days, we will be engaging in peaceful protests. We will be engaged in
it's going on for 30 days, guys.
And I need something from all of you. I need you to join us. I need you to know that there is power in students. Is there power in students? There is power in workers. There is power in immigrants. Our city is incredible because it's diverse. And we've never been more unified.
This is California, guys. Double tap that screen. Get the lights
up. With our fellow labor unions, with our students, with our workers. And the last thing I'll say is, we all need to not suffer in silence at this moment.
What's up, Lisa?
We need to amplify our voices. We need to make it clear on this ground right here, in the birthplace of Los Angeles, We are not going anywhere until the people are treated equally. Are you with me? Something happens when we come together as a community. Something happens when we fight together as a community. What happens? When we fight? When we fight? When we fight! Are we going to stand together? Are we going to be unified? Are we going to win? Oh yes, thank you so much.
Give it up for David Green, y'all.
These are freedom officials in LA, guys, that are asking all protesters to know their rights, man. They say they're not going anywhere for the next 30 days.
Economic justice, you guys know us as CLUE. And I brought some clergy today. Take one step forward, clergy. I brought some clergy today who've been on the streets from day one. We are going to be the moral fibrillator that's going to shock the consciousness back into this nation. Believe me when I tell you. With that, I'd like to bring to the microphone Mark Carrego.
Do y'all agree with anything that is being stated? Or do y'all think this is a load of crap? Let me know.
Martha from Carece.
¡Que viva los inmigrantes! ¡Que viva Carece! Thank you so much. My name is Marta Arevalo, the Executive Director of the Central American Resource Center, Carece. Thank you. What we have lived through and witnessed in the past few days
Ms. Bless say she agrees.
is terrorism against our community. We have witnessed kidnappings of our community. We have witnessed violations of human, civil, constitutional rights of our community. And when people ask me, how are you doing? I say, I'm fired up. Are we fired up? I'm fired up. I'm angry. I'm tired. But are we going to give up? This is part of a concerted effort, a strategic effort to push.
Somebody put go home. Man, y'all tripping in them comments. We need 15 more likes, guys, to be at 400. Click those three dots, hit that thumbs up.
That immigrants are not wanted. But we know that immigrants make this country great. California is the fourth largest economy in the world, in large part because of immigrant workers. And it's time that we say enough of the lies, enough of the narrative. Immigrants contribute. Immigrants work hard. Immigrants bring culture and beautiful language and music and dance and food and make this city and this country an amazing place.
Somebody said, no, you don't. Y'all is tripping in these comments.
We are not going to hide. We're not going to scurry back into the shadows and let them win. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. And we're going to do it in a way that is peaceful. In a way where we can also amplify our message. In a way where we can tell our stories. Because our stories have value. Our stories matter. Our stories are important. And so I want to thank SEIU 721 and all the workers and union movement that is here. ¡Que viva los sindicatos! I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for your strength and for your voice.
Somebody put Mama Nose. Y'all is tripping in these comments, man. What is going on?
This is a moment where we
so I think y'all are saying y'all don't agree?
Are we a country that has no morals, that terrorizes its own people, that sends the military against its own people? Or are we a country of compassion, of humanity, of love, and protection? I choose to be a country and a city and a state of humanity and of dignity for all. Algo en español muy rápido. Mi nombre es Marta Arevalo, yo soy la directora del Centro de Recursos Centroamericanos Carecen aquí en Los Ángeles. Estamos aquí junto al movimiento de sindicalista con la unión SIU 721.
Can somebody translate what she's saying in the chat?
Los sindicatos que están aquí. Estamos aquí porque no nos vamos a esconder. Estamos aquí porque ya estamos hartos de esa narrativa negativa que dicen de nuestra comunidad. Son mentiras, no es cierto. Vamos a luchar de
Can somebody translate in the chat? I have no idea what she's saying.
Para poder rezar por nuestras comunidades. Porque nuestras comunidades contribuyen, son trabajadoras, son lindas, traen una cultura preciosa a esa ciudad, a ese estado.
She's repeating everything she just said. Okay.
Nuestras historias porque importa.
Bro, I cannot translate. I have no idea what she's saying.
Son historias de familias, de humanos, de niños, de trabajadores, que todo el mundo tiene que escuchar. Y no vamos a tener miedo. Pero sí le mandamos un mensaje a esa
Wow, look at what they did to Trump. Wow.
No nos vamos a dar por vencido. No nos vamos a sentir solos, porque sabemos que todas estas organizaciones están con nosotros y todo el mundo está con nosotros. Vamos a seguir luchando, no tengan miedo, infórmense, sepan sus derechos, acudan a nuestras organizaciones.
Mr. Nina, they
vamos a estar con ustedes siempre. Muchísimas gracias.
¡Te queremos! ¡Juntos! ¡Te queremos! ¡Juntos! Coming to the microphone next without delay. Let's give it up for Vlad from Turla. Inside del pueblo.
He said Pueblo. Pueblo, whatever that means. Pueblo. I thought a Pueblo was an Indian hut.
My name is Vladimir Carrasco. I'm an organizer with the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights in Chirla. We are here today because our communities are under attack. And because we are here to stand and demonstrate a vision of unity, of strength, diversity, and nonviolence.
Well, they are preaching nonviolence, guys.
And this city of immigrants will not be complicit in mass deportations. Hell yeah. We stand here today in solidarity.
Shout out to Lady,
faith leaders, and community.
to Lady. She says the United People will never be defeated. Viva Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln. Shout out to you for that super chat. Thank you.
Educating our people on their rights. That looks like creating safety for our community right here in the birthplace of LA, Placita Olvera. Placita Olvera, exactly. Sacred ground will serve as a central location, accessible location for our impacted communities, our impacted families, youth, allies to gather.
What's up, the great one?
And learn about resources in a place that they can exist without fear. Porque quien salva el pueblo salva al pueblo.
What does that mean?
It draws from a long history of non-violence.
Mark Smith say send them home. Y'all tripping down there.
Civil rights to the farm worker movement.
Addie says self-deport.
United Front.
Somebody say they took our jobs.
So We want y'all to come out here because we're going to center the stories of the people most impacted. This is coordinated. This is community power. We're not going to let them define what LA is. We're not going to let them define our immigrant community.
Once again, this is Los Angeles, guys.
We're shifting the narrative together, and Cheerla is going to continue to help our community no matter what attacks come our way. For 39 years, we've been helping our community members, and we're going to continue to do that. So if you need help, community members, call us at 888-624-4752. We're here to help with assistance and referrals.
This is most definitely an American channel.
Resistance for us means that we will never stop serving our people with dignity.
This is most definitely an American channel, but I do report on everything, news, meaning everything, which is the other side as well as Trump's side. If they give a speech, I most definitely report on them as well. But these are the freedom officials that came together in LA to tell the people to know their rights.
And respect. Porque quien salva el pueblo, el pueblo salva el pueblo. El pueblo salva el pueblo. El salva el pueblo.
We know even our children are impacted. But we know an administration that sent billions of dollars in bombs to kill hundreds of thousands.
This is for educational purposes only, guys.
That's right. Some of y'all got a little uncomfortable, but I got to tell the truth. I'm not here to make y'all feel good. Don't invite me next time, Felipe, if they can't handle it.
Come on now.
So they went to elementary schools.
They saying ICE went to elementary schools. Is that true?
But the people stood up and said, hell no, not here. They were trying to see if we would allow them to take brown kids from school.
Is that true, guys? Did ICE go to elementary schools? Let me know.
So, to speak for our impacted folks, give it up for Talia.
They say yes, they did in Atlanta. Well, the chat is saying that it's true.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Talia Cataño. I teach over at Roosevelt High School.
Yep.
I'm also the parent of two LUSD kids and a proud member of United Teachers Los Angeles. You know, for me, my father was deported when I was a teenager. And so I know a lot of my students are going through the same thing. I teach high school seniors, and usually this is a moment of joy. They're celebrating with their families. But unlike past years, this year, that was overshadowed by the fear of ICE, immigration coming, anxiety. There was a lot of anxiety this year that I had conversations with my seniors this last week. And this is, you know, our students are leaving their safe space, and they're coming into communities that are torn apart right now by this decisive rhetoric, right? This fear that they're feeling. Our students, our families, and our neighbors are being targeted by the militarized immigration enforcement. Our parents, our neighbors, our caregivers are being forcefully taken simply by going to work, going to go pick up groceries, right? Just being at home. The presence of the military-style immigration agents in our communities is a direct threat to our students' safety and well-being. Most of our schools closed for the summer. UTLA, though, is here, and we're not going to step back, and we're not going to back down from this administration. And from this administration's escalating tactics that they're using. The real crisis is the deliberate escalation by federal immigration authorities and
Louis says he don't care. Y'all is tripping.
to the
Continue to get those likes up, man. Click those three dots, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new.
The presence of the military-style immigration operations threaten our students' safety and health. UTLA will not stand by while this administration tears our communities apart with these cruel tactics.
What's up,
Now
I am
more than
Cosmic
ever, our
Energy.
students and families need LAUSD.
It's too late.
Wow,
Noah. Y'all stop down there. What are y'all doing?
Our students deserve support, our families deserve respect, and our communities deserve to be treated with dignity. I want to make it clear, we will not stand for this. We will hold ICE and all law enforcement agencies accountable for racially profiling. Accountable for racially profiling and detaining our communities and people across our communities. Our schools should and will always be safe and welcoming places, not just during the academic year, but all year long. UTLA educators are committed to meeting this moment with courage, compassion, and collective action. Thank you.
And we know as we launch this summer of resistance that we got to be rooted and grounded. Yes. We know that this is not just a justice issue. We know it's not just a civic issue. We know it's not just a human rights issue. We know it's a moral issue. We know it's a spiritual issue. So I'm going to ask all clergy to step up as we do a prayer. And I'm going to ask Pastor Andy, whose church has been impacted, to come and lead us in that prayer. He didn't know I was going to ask him to do that.
Let us pray. Holy God, God, our Creator, who created each one of us in your image, each one of us sacred children of the same God. We ask your blessing on everyone present today. We ask your blessing on our immigrant sisters and brothers among us in our community that are part of the fabric of this city. Bless us, protect us, help us all together speak up, rise up, and stand together. Stand together for love, for mercy, for compassion, for justice, for a city that welcomes our neighbors, as our scriptures teach us to love our neighbors as we love you. Help us to embody that. Help us as people of faith and conscience to embody that witness and to be a presence of resistance in the days to come. These 30 days of resistance and moral witness. In your many names we pray. Amen.
And now to give us further instructions, he wants me to do it, but I want him to do it. And I got the mic, so he's going to do it. To give us further instructions, one who I've been on the street struggling with the Fight for 15 for over a decade, from SCIU 721,
They said amen.
Part of the Black and Brown, all of that work we've been doing together. Give it up for Felipe Cáceres.
We just want to thank everyone for being here, and we are going to continue to be here in our summer of resistance. We're going to have, I know our
the summer of resistance. What a name!
Fast. Are you all ready? Yeah. Our clergy are ready to launch their intermittent fast. Our community members from the ACLU and the Lawyers Guild are ready to do their Know Your Rights training in Trump 2.0 with the National Guard on the ground, and we are going to continue to non-violently protest and stop the rage. You ready to stop the rage? Let's stop the rage! Stop the rage! All right, let's go. We're heading over here.
go head over and we're going to start our program. Thank you.
All right, let's take a live look at what's going on in LA right now, guys. Hold on. Let's see what's going on in LA at this very moment as we speak, guys. Let's take a live look at LA. Let's see exactly what's going on in Los Angeles as far as the military goes. They are still there for right now. They are still there, guys, for right now. But they have till 12 tomorrow before they have to leave. It looks pretty tranquil. There's not a lot going on, you know. They're just basically standing around. But this is live in Los Angeles, guys, as we speak. And they just pretty much standing around. But those were leaders, y'all, of freedom leaders from Los Angeles that just gave that speech. And they were basically calling for all protesters to know their rights. But this is a live look at what's going on in LA right now. It doesn't seem like much at all, man. Just a bunch of standing around. It's crazy, man. They just pretty much standing around right now, you know, waiting on something to happen, guys. We need 60 more likes to be at 500. If you in the building and have not hit that like button, click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. You know, this is the National Guard live in LA, basically just standing around. Looks pretty boring to me. As they just stand around and wait for something to happen, guys. The weekend is fast approaching, with today being Friday. Tonight should be eventful. You know, when the sun goes down, y'all know all chaos and confusion pops off. So maybe a little bit later, there'll be more going on. But as of right now, they're just kind of standing around, guys. What do y'all think about all of this? What do y'all think about Governor Newsom winning and basically the troops having to be removed unless the Supreme Court overturns the decision of the federal judge that basically says that they gotta go by 12 o'clock tomorrow? They just standing around, guys. You know, yeah, very uneventful here. The rally a while ago was more entertaining than this situation. But there's not a lot going on right now, guys, as far as protesters. This is all the action, guys. I hear you. I hear you. They just doing a bunch of standing around. All right, so I see. What time is it now? We can most definitely take a look around if y'all want to. Y'all want me to take a look around, see what else is going on? I see that there is a press conference for Los Angeles leaders to speak out at 7 o'clock. That's like 30 more minutes. Y'all want to look around and see if we can find anything else that's going on? Because this right here, they just standing around looking bored as we are right now. Drop a one in the chat if y'all want to see if there's anything else going on, or if y'all would like to just end and we'll come back later. They say, yeah, move around. All right, let me look over here to see if I see anything else on what's going on, man. Yeah, they making that easy money right now. Just doing a bunch of standing around. All right, I'm looking around. Hold on. Yeah, it ain't. They got everybody spooked. It ain't much going on at all. They say disrespectful to the troops. Yeah, man, they could be at home with their families right now, being called out as needed, but yet they have to stay here, you know, and just stay here. Hold on, let me see. What else is going on? Continue to hit that like button, though, guys. Most definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new. There's not much going on right now, guys. But like I said, it's a press conference for all the leaders here in a little bit, you know, regarding what's going on. All right, I see some things about an Iranian missile attack on Israel. I've seen a lot on that. Y'all want to check that out, or y'all want to focus mainly on the protests? Let me know. We got some things going on in Israel. They said Iran launches more retaliatory strikes against Israel. They say I'm waving, they ain't waving back. Yeah, man, they just bored. Absolutely, Vic. Hold on, let's go over here, man. Let's take a small intermission to see what they got going on with this situation in Israel. All right, hold on. All right, we finna go over here to see what's going on in Israel. Hold up. Let me pull it up, guys. I'm pulling it up as we speak. It ain't much action going on in LA right now. Hold up.
Does help Israel defensively, and he threatened the Iranian not to hurt American troops, but called them back to the negotiation table.
All right, so my moderators in the chat, one of y'all type up. This is the situation going on between Iran and Israel.
To make Iran more flexible negotiation. That's wonderful, but I really don't.
Somebody said Iran has a right to defend themselves.
They're going to try to have significant achievement, military achievement, before they are willing to go back to the negotiation table.
Yes, Noah, that's what it is.
The last few minutes here with Dr. Boaz at Zealy. He's an associate professor there at American
Hey, Maj,
University
y'all watch
in
the
Washington,
chat, man.
DC.
I know it's a lot going
We appreciate
on.
your time for being with us to help us break down the very latest. Any final thoughts before I let you go?
I'll end with the same thing I started, that you know when and how you start a war, if you're the one who started it, like Israel in this case. But you don't know where it will lead you. You don't know how will it escalate.
It says Iran launches more retaliatory strikes against Israel, which really ain't none of our business.
In a war for the last 20 months. I do hope that all of this ends as soon as possible, But I must say,
Corey says Iran doesn't have a chance in hell. Lord,
optimistic
let's go.
line again is if
He
Israel
all
will
right.
be smart
Hell is
enough
not a cuss word.
to end the Gaza war and bring back the hostages, the Israeli hostages, and withdraw.
All right, Dirty Money, how is it our business? Let me know. He said I'm wrong. It's definitely our business. It's our business. How is our business, Dirty Money?
So that it
Let me know.
Focus on Iran and on defending itself
Since you
against
so
Iran,
smart, let me know,
also
Dirty
more
Money.
likely,
How's this American business?
to continue to attack in Iran itself.
All right, we certainly appreciate, once again, Dr. Boaz Adzili there with American University. We appreciate you for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks.
Let me know.
Christina.
Hurry up, Dirty Money. How's it our business?
Our coverage here on Live Now. I want to showcase again, we've been watching the skies there in Tel Aviv. This has been the center of
They are in NATO,
okay. Iran has now launched against Israel in response to the first attack that Israel sent in the
when Israel builds a new temple,
so I do want to continue here.
Could give them a bunch of
We're taking a live look there in Tel Aviv.
A bunch of money.
From that second round that we just
Princess.
saw a little over an hour ago at
goodbye.
this point. We're getting an
Mr.
update from the
Trippy.
Associated Press saying that Tel Aviv saying they have treated 7 people who were hurt by the second Iranian barrage. Saying that 6
well, tell us so we can be up to date, Dirty Money, before I deport you. You don't got a green card anyway. You come over here talking about it's our business, but ain't telling us nothing.
We're relying heavily on the Associated
Iran
Press
didn't have nukes
to give us these updates
yet they were weeks away.
Well. So we
Dirty Money about to get deported. You know what I'm saying? Over here talking about it's our business, but ain't letting us know why it's our business.
There in the region continues after this.
Over there tripping, doing all this and doing all that. Ain't told us nothing. She says, let Dirty Money rock. Man, Dirty Money about to be up out of here. We about to wash his money and make it clean money. It ain't going to be dirty money no more. It's going to be laundromat money. It's going to be fresh, fully clean. We going to send it through the washer 3 or 4 times and turn dirty money, clean money. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. No, I'm rushing you, sir. I'm rushing you. Hurry up. You know, hurry up with your smart. It shouldn't take you that long. You know everything. Yeah, talking about don't rush me, but you over here talking about, oh, it's most definitely, and I'm caught up with foreign policy and this and that, but don't want to inform the rest of us so we can know. Yeah, you hurry up. Get your thoughts together. Type it out. About to clean that money. Yeah, we about to send it to the laundromat. You about to have clean money instead of dirty money. That's your new name. Clean money. Yeah, man, it ain't much going on right now, guys. I'm trying to wait it out till 7, until the leaders speak. I might just start up another stream. That's what I might do. I might just kick it off when they come back. But it's only like 30 minutes away. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was trying to keep it going. I was trying to keep it going, guys. But there's not much going on right now. And then we got Dirty Money in my chat. Want to tell me something, but ain't telling us nothing. Happy birthday, Bobby. Happy birthday to you. That's the best I can do. And many more. Yeah, talking about sing happy birthday to me. Happy birthday. That's the best I can do. Happy birthday to my moderator, Bobby, man. You know what I'm saying? We most definitely appreciate you in the building. Yeah, but as I look around, man, it ain't much going on. Let's see what she's talking about.
Our coverage here on Live Now for the last few hours, still really focusing on what's happening there in the region. I do want to go ahead and continue to show some of the live shots that we have there in Tel Aviv, as we've been watching as some of these attacks happen there in the region. Again, want to continue on. Let's just take a look at this.
This is what's going on in Iran and Israel, guys. I guess this is something to do with the strikes that Iran has launched against Israel. She took us to this feed, said we're keeping an eye on what's going on over there. I don't see nothing going on.
And again, we'll continue to watch some of these live vantage points there in the region. So thanks for being with us here on Live Now. I do want to, though, continue on also showcasing this video footage, this live footage that we have in Jerusalem. It's been pretty quiet there, and this is the second major city
leave
there
Jerusalem alone,
as we now know that Iran had launched a second wave of retaliatory attacks there. We're just able to bring it to you before that commercial break that after those second wave was announced that a hospital there in Tel Aviv,
this is live in Jerusalem,
7 people for injuries after the second barrage, saying that 6 had light injuries, but the 7th person was moderately wounded. So we'll continue to stay on top of this.
It wasn't a lot of chaos and confusion.
Let's go ahead and check in now to talk about the international element of this. I want to showcase this live look that we have at the White House. We do know that President Trump met with his National Security Council today, and he says that Iran may still have an opportunity to get a deal done. Let's go ahead and now check in with Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff. She has much more.
Approaching, the White House captured this photo of the president in the West Wing today, though much of the afternoon was spent in the Situation Room with his National Security Council. On overnight strike action taken by Israel, the president tells Fox News the Iranians were hit 10 times worse than they thought they would be. They weren't ready to negotiate. I think they may be now. We'll see. President Trump eyeing up whether a weakened Iran will encourage progress in reaching a nuclear deal. A 6th round of talks were scheduled for Sunday in Oman. A senior U.S. official expressed hope to Fox News this morning that the meeting would still take place. That's despite Iranian state media reporting that the regime pulled out of Sunday's session. President Trump was aware of Israel's strikes beforehand, revealing yesterday only that he did not want military action to disrupt the nuclear talks.
As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in because I think that would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it...
Man, we got our own situations going on in America.
I'd prefer the more friendly path.
This morning, the president stated, 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have, perhaps, a second chance. The rest of the administration has remained largely quiet.
We just got word that Mr. Witkoff will not be able to join us.
Due to the fluid situation, Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, was forced to miss the opening of an exhibit in Washington.
This is what's going on between Israel and Iran, guys.
Now, Energy Secretary Chris Wright did come out and state that his department is looking to any impacts that could potentially arise in terms of global energy supply from the situation that remains fluid. At the White House, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Our thanks to Alexandria Hoff for that. I also want to show you some live video footage that we're just now getting into our newsroom. This is dynamic footage there in Jerusalem as they are now responding in some of the aftermath of those attacks that happened there. This is the second, again,
Iran has basically attacked Israel, guys.
Into Israel.
This is live
search
footage
and rescue efforts
of
are
what's going on
right
over
now
there
in Jerusalem. Our camera footage here is going to continue to shift and move. I want to see if we're able to listen into anything. Let's try.
Maybe so. You might be right. This is live from Jerusalem, guys.
Give you a sense of the sights and sounds that are happening right now as the search and rescue operations are underway in Jerusalem. So we did get confirmation from the IDF about an hour or so ago. This is that the second attack was on its way.
Nathan say, keep it running, brother. I'm trying.
Able to be put out there from the IDF at the time. They said that missiles were recently launched from Iran towards the territory of the state of Israel and that the defense systems are working to intercept the threat. You must enter the protected areas and remain there until further notice. Exiting the protected area will only be possible after receiving explicit instructions.
I didn't mean to do that, but anyway, we heard now.
According to the Home Front command instructions as well.
the
So in the aftermath of this, we've been seeing some of this happen across the country and Israel throughout the day. We've been seeing these search and rescue operations earlier today in Tel Aviv, as well as now Jerusalem. And this is the other latest update. So once these search and rescue efforts are able to go on, this is after it has been deemed safe for folks to come back
live
outside.
footage from Jerusalem, guys.
As well, saying from the IDF, saying after assessing the situation, the Home Front Command issued instructions that it is possible to leave the protected area and that people should continue to stay near it in all regions of the country. You are requested to continue to obey the instructions of the Home Front Command. And with these live images coming into our newsroom, viewer discretion is advised. We're continuing to do our best to watch and keep our eye, but these are active search and rescue operations that are happening there in the aftermath of these attacks. And so we just lost our shot there. It happens from time to time. If we get it back again, we'll certainly bring it to you here on Live Now from Fox. But just so you're able to be aware, I want to showcase this other live vantage point that we do have there in Jerusalem as we're keeping our eyes as those search and rescue efforts are underway in the country. The Air Force put out this statement there in Israel saying, in the last hour, dozens of missiles have been launched at the state of Israel from Iran, some of which were intercepted by the Air Force. Rescue forces are operating in several areas across the country where reports of falls have been received. The Home Front Command's instructions must continue to be followed. So we'll keep our eyes on this situation, again, watching as those live feeds are coming in. If we have them, we'll bring them to you. In the meantime, a bit earlier today, there at that emergency meeting for the UN Security Council, we were able to hear from representatives from several countries, including Israel. I want to play out some of those remarks for you right now on Live Now from Fox.
Of Israel.
Madam President, first, I would like to thank USG DiCarlo and Director General Grossi. Madam President, Israel has acted to prevent its destruction, and the world now stands at a crossroad between denial and clarity. This is not only a defining moment for Israel, it is a defining moment for the global security order and for the credibility of the international system. As we speak, hundreds of ballistic missiles with conventional payloads are striking Israel's cities, neighborhoods, communities. They are striking population centers, not military bases, not Air Force bases, cities. Dozens are injured, 2 of them in a critical condition, and we are still following the news. Now take a moment and imagine if today that radical regime had nuclear warheads for those missiles. Last night, the State of Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a preemptive military operation carried out with precision, purpose, and the most advanced intelligence at our disposal. The mission was very clear: dismantle Iran's nuclear program, eliminate the architects of its terror and aggression, and neutralize the regime's ability to follow through on its repeated public promise to destroy the state of Israel. For years, Iran has declared its intent.
This is what's going on between Israel and Iran,
without
guys.
hesitation. Less than a month ago, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei called a quote, cancerous tumor that must be eradicated. IRGC commanders have vowed to quote, open the gates
he said
of
some
hell
people need to
on
be.
Israel.
He said some things need to be eradicated. That's a strong word.
This is a picture from the main square in Tehran. The streets of Tehran display a countdown clock. At the time of the photo, you can see it in Arabic, it was at 8,411 days. It is tracking the regime's planned timeline for Israel's destruction, paid by the government, putting it in the main squares in Tehran. These threats have been made on a near-daily basis. Never again will we dismiss such threats. For too long, the world convinced itself that these were just words, that genocidal slogans and threats to erase us could be ignored or rationalized. But Israel has never had that luxury. We know our enemies. We know their ideology. And when a regime builds ballistic missiles,
now I understand perfectly what he's saying. He said something about a genocide.
openly declares
Yeah,
its
they ain't
intent to
playing.
destroy us, we believe them. We take them at their word. And we take action before it is too late.
This is Israel, guys.
Colleagues, Israel did not act recklessly. We waited. We waited while Iran enriched uranium to 60%, a level with no civilian justification, and a level that brings the regime within days of a nuclear breakout. We waited while the IAEA reported that Iran had obstructed inspectors, destroyed monitoring equipment, and accelerated its covert special development program. We waited while Iran developed trigger mechanisms, detonation systems, and plans for warheads. We waited while its leadership actively recruited more nuclear scientists.
They waited.
We waited while Iran constructed a ballistic missile industry so large and sophisticated, and we can expose it now, that it was intended to challenge even the US and Russia.
Oh man, they wanted to challenge us too with ballistic missiles.
They cannot deny it. We waited for diplomacy to work. We gave the international community time. We watched negotiations stretched on as Iran made false concessions or refused the most fundamental conditions. All the while, Iran continued to build toward...
We need 9 more likes to 500, guys.
Last night, the wait ended. Our operation targeted 3 layers of the threat. First, we eliminated the central figures of Iran's military and nuclear command. This included Muhammad Hussein Bagheri, chief of the armed forces, Hussein Salami, commander of the IRGC terror organization, and Ghulam Ali Rashid, commander of emergency command. These men directed Iran's conventional military forces and terror forces. They coordinated the terror network that has plagued our region for decades. Seeing how many meetings you had here about the proxies of Iran in Yemen, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Gaza. Second, we struck Iran's military infrastructure, specifically the surface-to-surface missile array. Israeli Air Force fighter jets, guided by precise intelligence, completed a series of strikes against the Iranian regime's missile capabilities. Dozens of launchers, missile storage facilities, and additional military sites were destroyed. Late last year, Iran launched wave after wave of ballistic missiles at our cities. They deliberately targeted civilians. The destruction of these missile systems is a moral imperative. These are weapons with the capacity to reach thousands of kilometers. Leaving them in the hands of a radical regime, one that openly dreams of wiping our nation off the map, was not an option. We will not hesitate. We will not relent. and we will not allow a genocidal regime to endanger our people. Third, we struck the core of the nuclear program, the underground enrichment facilities at Natanz. This facility was operating at a military-grade capacity. Intelligence confirmed that within days, Iran could have produced enough material for multiple bombs. We targeted the heart of that effort. Madam President, this operation was carried out because the alternative was unthinkable. How long did the world expect us to wait? How long? Let's speak about it. Until they assembled the bomb? Until they mounted it on a Shahab missile? Until it was en route to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem? Like the more than 100 missiles that they sent an hour ago? How long should we wait? And if anyone in this chamber still believes Iran would never use such a weapon, I invite you to remember October 7. On that day, we saw what Iran's proxy Hamas was capable of. And then in Gaza, they did it with Kalashnikovs, with grenades. They butchered families, they burned children alive, they mutilated women. Imagine what the head of the snake would do with a nuclear warhead. To that end, we uncovered intelligence revealing a multi-front plan directed by Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas for a future assault on Israel. This one would be far more sophisticated than October 7. It envisioned mass missile launches, first from Iran, then from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, followed by coordinated infiltrations of our borders. The plan was not aspirational, it was operational, and it was nearing execution. This council has convened countless times in recent months. You have passed resolutions, called for restraint, demanded ceasefire. You met in emergency sessions when Hamas was under
Israel
threat.
standing on business.
But when Iran
Israel said we did what we did. We got tired of waiting.
You said nothing. When they crossed line after line, you drew none of your own. So we acted. We acted to ensure our people.
Tell me Israel ain't standing on business.
So
Israel said we did what we did. We got tired of waiting. They threatened us. We took action.
Sirens triggered by a nuclear launch. We acted so that Iranian missiles will not carry radioactive payloads.
They can say Israel always stand on business.
We acted because
he most definitely said, hey, they threatened us, so we did what we did. We eliminated the threat.
It's fatal. We acted because 80 years ago, the Jewish people made a promise to ourselves, never again.
Well, they in front of T. What you mean? He telling them exactly what he did. How he ain't standing on business?
It was an act of national preservation. It was one we undertook alone, not because we wanted to, but because we were left no other option. We now turn to this council, not for permission, but for recognition. Recognition that Israel did what the world should have done. Recognition that the Iranian regime violated every obligation they ever undertook. Recognition that Israel had the undeniable right
of the world, telling them exactly what they did
from extermination,
saying we did it.
We urge the Council to condemn Iran's nuclear violations. We urge the Council to finally acknowledge the existential threat Iran poses to the world. We urge the Council to join us in our commitment to prevent their genocidal dreams from becoming a reality. But we also expect something even more basic.
He says he wants the U.S. to
moral
save
clarity.
him. He wants the U.S. to save him.
Equating
He crying for help. Oh,
with defenders. Stop treating a genocidal regime and a democracy under siege as two sides of the same coin.
What's
The
up,
Iranian regime
Kyle?
was preparing for war. This war would have stretched across the Middle East, to Europe, to Asia, to the Americas. It would have been against the international order. We acted to prevent a threat that would endanger not only Israel, but the entire world. We will
Texas
not sit
deployed
quietly
the National Guard.
while our
Let me
people
look and
are
see.
targeted.
I'm in Texas.
Not again, not ever. Empty words will not stop Iran. Israel will. We did not wait for the bomb to fall, and we will never allow that day to come. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Israel.
All right, as you see there, wanted to play that out for you folks in full. If you missed it earlier today, those were the remarks there from Israel's representative there at the UN Security Council as they held this emergency meeting in New York in the wake of the attacks that have been happening there in the region. So I want to reset for you here. Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. We've been on top of this story for the last 24 hours following all of the updates out of the region. I do want to put up a live look that we have there as well right now in Tel Aviv. So we've been watching the skies there in one of Israel's major cities. This is because of the ongoing attack as Iran has now launched a attack back on Israel for the second time in the wake of this. So initially, this happened yesterday in the early morning hours on Friday.
A day ago they deployed the National Guard in San Antonio
and the simmering tensions over Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. For years, Israel had threatened that a strike like this could possibly happen. It came to fruition yesterday. And in the response, we've seen 2 attacks on Israeli cities in the aftermath in just the last few hours. The last one ending up here with a handful of light injuries reported from that second wave of Iranian missiles.
We got about 10 more minutes until Karen Bass and the leaders of LA speak on this whole situation, y'all. We just wasted time until
moderately wounded. So to get a better example of what's going on there in the region, I now want to bring into the conversation with UCLA political science professor Benjamin Rad. Benjamin, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the very basics. As we just talked about, the second attack that was launched by Iran on some of these Israeli cities, there have been, in the aftermath, a few reports of injuries. But what was your response to seeing that Iran is continuing at this point to respond to those first targeted attacks that Israel sent out yesterday?
Well, this is not a surprise. Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, when he announced that Israel had undertaken the initial wave of attacks, he did, in an address to the Israeli people, tell them that there will be expected reprisals in the hours and days to come. And we saw now this first wave. I think what the question remained would consist of a swarm of drone attacks, ballistic missiles, or a combination of both. The intent would be to overwhelm Israel's missile defense system. It has a 3-tiered system. And in last year's skirmishes between Israel and Iran, we saw that when Iran overwhelmed those systems with the use of these drones, it allowed for some missiles to penetrate and reach Israeli soil. And we saw that again a few hours ago. So that wasn't much of a surprise. And I think for the Israelis having the opportunity to get these the warning sirens a few minutes before these missiles land helped minimize the number of casualties.
So we're still looking back at some of that footage, and you said it here. We were on the air live when this was happening, watching as this was falling. But you said the point of this was try to overwhelm the Israeli defense system. Can you sort of speak to the ability that Israel has to defend itself there in the region against some of these attacks?
Israel basically retaliated against Iran.
Resources.
Iran, they most definitely set their own
the Iron Dome is probably the most well-known.
Well.
It's really meant to protect Israel from smaller, more immediate, closer rockets, the kind that would be fired by Hezbollah from the north or Hamas from Gaza. What the system was not designed to do was to intercept and prevent ballistic missiles that are traveling at hypersonic speeds, coming in from Iran.
Shout out to Devin. Thank you for the sub, bro.
Weapon systems,
continue to subscribe to the channel, guys. This is everything
and then
new.
We now know that the United States assisted with its own missile defense systems, helping Israel intercept these missiles. It has what's known as the THAAD missile battery systems, some of which are in Israel, others are scattered throughout the Middle East in locations that have not been disclosed. So the Americans assisted. We know the Jordanians shot down several missiles or drones that were flying over their airspace as well. Not necessarily to help Israel, though implicitly, that's what happens, but more so that it seemed like some of these rockets or missiles or drones that Iran fired would fall short of their targets and land in Jordan. So the goal was to prevent any casualties or minimize casualties there.
Missiles.
So the point being is that there's a robust system Israel has in addition to the support it gets from the United States to intercept Iranian projectiles.
And so when we're talking about this, I'm so glad you brought up the international element, because I think that's the portion that many folks are focused on at this point. I want to put this up on the screen before we continue to dive into this. This is a tweet that we have from Fox's Trey Yanks. He's on the ground there in Tel Aviv as this is ongoing, saying we're enrolling live coverage, so I'll post more when I can. But there is a massive amount of damage in the suburbs of Tel Aviv on a few blocks. They are still digging through the rubble,
some of the
looking
damage,
for survivors. I imagine that this situation is going to continue to go on. But in the face of this, Iran are they still able to send yet another attack, not giving time to conduct these search and rescue operations and forcing folks to continue to go back to some of those safe places that they have to go to in a time when they're being actively attacked?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have no reason to believe that Iran doesn't have the capability to launch a second or possibly third wave. We know that Israel tried its best to take out not just the existing battery sites it knows about, but also the control systems and the control centers that launch these missiles, and then also the top military leadership, the senior commanders who operate these missiles are in control of when they're launched and where they go. So I think what Israel's been able to do successfully is to minimize the ability of Iran to use its ballistic missile capability to inflict damage back against Israel. But to say that all of those missiles have been wiped out would be premature.
And let's talk about those targeted attacks, Benjamin. I want to put up some of the video footage that was put out by the IDF. Now, this is video footage that they put out on their social media, trying to show how those targeted attacks happen in the early morning
They want us to get involved. It most definitely could be.
You can see it. What are your thoughts as you see some of this video footage there? They're calling these targeted attacks. We know that some of those top officials there in the Iranian government were also killed.
Yeah, it's remarkable. What you're seeing here is essentially Israeli drones and fighter jets. We know of upwards of 100, if not more, penetrating Iranian airspace and able to carry out these pinpoint attacks, looking for these missile batteries, these mobile missile launchers, the trucks that are carrying the munitions and other weapons that Iran would use to either defend against the Israeli barrage or to retaliate. And so this is a remarkable accomplishment, both in terms of tactical, logistical, and intelligence function. Because again, these images you're seeing represent Israeli assets, Israeli capabilities in Iranian airspace. And that's something that has to unnerve and cause Iran a tremendous amount of discomfort, knowing that Israelis have this capability and this level of access, and we're able to do so undetected.
Is this a level of maybe warfare of the mind in this way, trying to show, hey, we can get to you anywhere that you want. We have eyes that are able to target and do exactly what we would like to do as Israel, trying to say that to Iran.
Absolutely. We heard Netanyahu in his address a few hours ago that he made to the Israeli people and broader to the Iranian people, to the Iranian government, I should say. He said that you didn't know this was coming and you don't know what is coming next. The idea is the element of surprise, and to keep them guessing, to keep them anxious, to keep them stressed, and to put maximum pressure in the hopes that they will just capitulate and agree to unilaterally dismantle their nuclear program altogether and to really satisfy the objective that Israel's looking for. Absolutely, this is putting tremendous psychological pressure on the Iranian leadership to really give in light of what they don't know might be coming next.
Because this is really the focus of it, as we're still continuing to showcase some of the video footage from yesterday as those attacks were ongoing in Tehran on some of these targeted attacks that Israel had sent. Now let's talk about it here. At the center of all of this, we've been talking about it. It's this nuclear power that Iran was trying to amass there in the region. It seems like so many people are interested, including the United States, who has been participating in talks. They were set to have more. The sixth round of those talks were supposed to happen on Sunday. Let's talk about that, this central issue of nuclear power.
Yeah, so Iran is permitted under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty to enrich uranium and to have a civilian nuclear program meant for energy, for domestic energy purposes, meant for medical use. And what the issue has been is that Iran has been caught cheating. They've been caught enriching beyond the maximum that they were allowed under the NPT, and also building centrifuges to enrich additional uranium that were not disclosed and shared with UN inspectors, specifically the IAEA. And so really the goal of this process over the last few decades has been to rein in and better monitor what Iran's doing. And absence any trust in the Iranian official statements about their intents to only limit their nuclear program for peaceful purposes. You've seen Israel now looking to completely undermine the program altogether, and the reason for that is because Iran has repeatedly made claims about wanting to destroy Israel or wiping Israel off the map, and chanting death to Israel and also death to the United States, and supporting proxy groups and terrorist organizations around the world who are aiming to do just that. And so, given that this sort of lack of trust from the Iranian side, and given Iran's words and actions in conducting these operations, it only made sense that that nuclear program had to be monitored much more strictly than almost any other country in the world is. And the fact that the Iranians have not been fully open and transparent about their activities. And even last week, the IAEA issued a report holding Iran in violation of the terms of the agreement of allowing its facilities to be monitored. All of this raises additional suspicion about what Iran's true motives are, and ultimately led to the attacks from Israel that we saw last night.
And I want to reference what we were just listening into before I brought you into the conversation, those full remarks there from the UN Security Council with the Israeli representative saying that this is the point. He said it was a point in an act of preservation, and they asked the council for recognition of its defense in this case, not permission. I thought that was an interesting statement, and really speaking to what Israel believes that it has done in the last few hours to protect itself and its own sovereignty.
Yeah, and I think the frustration from Israel is that the Security Council has pretty much been blocked from taking meaningful steps to put pressure on Iran, blocked by Russia and China, two of the permanent members. Now, it is worth noting that these powers all did agree in 2015 to the JCPOA, the original Iran nuclear deal that President Obama had helped broker, that by all accounts was functioning pretty well and doing what it needed to do until then candidate Trump really decried it, calling it the worst deal ever, and pulling the United States out in 2018. And then putting himself on a path towards trying to make a better deal. So, but that takes us back to what the Security Council's role here should be. From Israel's perspective, it is that you cannot have a member of the United Nations threatening the existence of another member state, and then at the same time conducting carrying on a clandestine nuclear enrichment program and not being transparent with international monitors. That was a concern.
And so, Benjamin, I have to ask you, because we've heard from President Trump, he also spoke to Axios saying that he still believes that a U.S. and Iranian deal is possible when it comes to nuclear. Do you think that that's possible in the wake of all these attacks?
Not anytime soon. The Iranian government right now needs to do something to show face. It needs to show that it still has the deterrent defensive ability, and it needs to, if it's going to re-enter into negotiations with the United States, it has to do so with at least trying to regain some of the leverage and credibility that it has lost. And because right now it has very little to bargain with and negotiate with. So it would be coming in much weaker than it was a few days ago. And it's difficult to see the Iranian delegation agreeing to that until they feel that they've accomplished some level of parity or some response that would satisfy their domestic audience.
Let's talk about that, what's going on inside of Iran's government right now. We do know, again, what pointed out the fact that several of their top officials in the government have been executed by Israel in those targeted attacks. Are we going or expecting to see any sort of turmoil as they try to fill those positions to be able to continue to make their own point known moving forward?
Yeah, the supreme leader of Iran moved quickly last night to fill in the vacuum of those missing leaders. So he appointed very quickly other figures to take their place. These are figures who don't necessarily have the expertise that the predecessors did, and it remains to be seen whether they will be even more hardline about how to respond and about whether to go full steam ahead with the nuclear weapons project. But nevertheless, it does create not just turmoil, but it paralyzes Iran's ability to respond to Israel in a meaningful militaristic way. Because again, it's senior leadership in charge of operating these missile sites, in charge of coming up with strategic defenses and how to retaliate. Those leaders have now been taken out. So this next sort of tier, if you will, this B squad, remains to be seen whether they're up to the task of filling in those shoes and carrying out a response that would send a message to Israel that Iran feels satisfied.
And since we're talking about the internal structure inside of Iran, we also need to talk about the internal structure of Israel as well. Quickly after these attacks were first launched yesterday, Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, got up. He said his speech as to why. We touched on that. But it was also an opposition leader in the country, the voice of the other side, speaking up to agree with Netanyahu. Now, it's been quite frank, so they don't agree on much, but sometimes in this moment, deciding to stand together, what does that speak to you? What does that say to you about how Israel is choosing to show up on the international stage at this moment?
Yeah, when Israel's carrying out an operation of this magnitude, that's this provocative, it better absolutely have the support of the entire political apparatus behind it. And in this case, we saw the opposition leader, Benny Gantz, issuing a statement standing with the decision by the top political and military leadership, showing that there's a unified resolve in Israel to once and for all eliminate the existential threat of Iran's nuclear weapons program. And it's a position that I think for now is sustainable, assuming that it doesn't become worse in Israel. By that I mean, if Iran is able to, let's say, continue a barrage of missile launches in the days and weeks to come, making life untenable for Israelis, whether there'll be public pushback remains to be seen. But for now, there definitely is a unified front, which is not surprising given the magnitude of this operation.
Now, we also know this isn't the only conflict that's ongoing in the area. We have to talk about the Gaza conflict that's been going on since October 7th. Of course, we know that was when that attack happened there. Let's talk about that element and how this plays into what we're now seeing.
Yeah, and so that is still ongoing. And in the past, when Iran would rely on its proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas, to retaliate against Israel or to serve as a deterrent force against Israeli actions, we're now seeing that those powers have been degraded substantially. Hamas is in no position to...
Is it me or this guy right here look like Mark Filio, who represents Diddy?
Really, to apply any significant damage or pressure on Israel in response to Israel's attack on Iran. And at the same time, Israel is conducting its operations in Gaza, seeking to destabilize and weaken and ultimately remove Hamas as a military and political force. But, we see on that front in Gaza more of a stalemate, right? It's harder to see a path forward for Israel, especially with the remaining hostages there and Hamas leadership and fighters committed to continuing their resistance to Israeli pressure.
Let's talk about some of the other big international players. You mentioned Russia earlier in the conversation. Let's dive into that relationship between Russia and Iran, as well as China, the big question mark that's also out there.
Yeah, and Iran and Russia have a close relationship. Iran has been supplying Russia with the Shahid drones, I should call them the kamikaze drones that Russia has used in its war against Ukraine. It's used very effectively. They've been very deadly. And Iran has provided these to Russia in addition to some ballistic missiles as well. And it's sort of using them in a way to field test and to improve upon its own designs. And so there is that military and political diplomatic alliance with Russia. But Russia's an interesting figure in that they will not automatically and reflexively side with Iran on every dimension and in every case. They do have a good, Vladimir Putin does have good relations with Benjamin Netanyahu, maybe not the strongest or the warmest, but they are definitely, you could say that there is solid diplomacy between the two states. Russia is not interested in becoming more of an international pariah by coming to the defense of Iran in this instance. But we have seen more, I think, vocal criticism and opposition to Israel's actions from China. But again, the Chinese are not as invested in Iran to the way that the Russians are. They're not dependent on Iran to the way the Russians are. So I think it gives Chinese a little bit more room to take a different position, a contrarian position in light of what's been going on.
And so I think you summed that up beautifully as well. Again, we've been speaking here with Benjamin Rad there with UCLA. I have to ask you, before we move on here, you're talking about some of these other countries. the other countries there, right there, the neighbors that you have. You mentioned that Jordan was able to shoot down some of those missiles that Iran had sent towards Israel, not necessarily to help Israel out, but just to protect their own borders. What else are we expecting to see those responses from Syria and maybe even some of the other bigger nations there in the Middle East, including, of course, all the other players that are involved?
Yeah, and it's interesting that in the past, Syria would have at least passively assisted Iran, maybe with, allowing militia to launch rockets in retaliation against Israel or against U.S. and other allied forces who might be perceived as helping Israel, militia that might be in Iraq. These are groups that would be affiliated with Iran, but they've been quiet. Syria is no longer an Iranian client state ever since the Assad regime was overthrown earlier this year, and Iraq has really chosen to lay low for now. Given the sensitive position that it is in and its past reliance on U.S. support after the fall of Saddam Hussein. And then when we talk about the other Arab states, specifically the Gulf states, now the Saudi Foreign Ministry did condemn Israel's actions and did convey that it was going to speak with the Iranian foreign minister and discuss what's going to happen next. But privately, everyone is very certain that the Saudis, the other Gulf states, the Jordanians, the Kuwaitis, others, the Syrians have to be pleased with what Israel is doing. They do not want a nuclear-armed Iran. They do not want to see Iran with the ability to fund and support and promote its ideology and proxy groups and to destabilize Arab regimes in the area. So for them, this is something that would be beneficial, but you're not going to hear them publicly say that.
And so it'll be interesting as we're still continuing to watch all of the things that are coming there out of the Middle East. And again, this was a second round that we just saw a couple of hours ago at this point. We're getting in some of those numbers there with some folks reporting being wounded in those attacks here in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Benjamin Rad here with UCLA. Any final thoughts before I let you go? Anything else we should truly be paying attention to in the next few hours and days as this conflict is ongoing?
Yeah, we're going to listen carefully to what the response from the State Department is going to be, from the Secretary of Defense, obviously President Trump himself, and to what extent the United States is going to go along with not just defending Israel, but really possibly taking any aggressive actions against Iran,
get involved
not just
in this,
again militarily, but also at the UN Security Council,
involved?
and whether the U.S. will take a lead on the diplomatic front.
And it'll be interesting to watch, showcasing a live look that we have there in the White House as soon as we continue to get any responses from President Trump or anyone else in his team throughout the day as these attacks have been ongoing. We'll bring them to you here on Live Now from Fox. But again, Benjamin Rad, he's been with us here from UCLA. We appreciate your time as always. You've been very generous, and I appreciate you breaking down just all of the intricacies of this situation. It's one that's continuing to develop there in the Middle East.
Thank you.
All right, wanted to bring that to you here on Live Now. We're going to continue on with our coverage. We haven't gone away from this at all in the last few hours. We're going to stay on top of it. Want to show another live look that we still have there as well. These are some of those vantage points we have there in Israel as things are looking a lot calmer there on the skylines. We watched as those missiles fell a short time ago. But again, these are moments of calm. This is what we expect. Some of our experts that have been joining us say that these things come in waves. So we'll continue to stay on top of it as this goes on. All right, let's slide away now for a 2-minute commercial break. Stay with us.
All right. Let's teleport. Hold up. Look like there's some things going on over here where they supposed to be giving this press conference. Hold up. All right, so this is where they're supposed to be coming and speaking about what's going on in Los Angeles, guys. So right now they're just waiting on Mayor Bass to pull up so she can deliver the speech, her and other officials of Los Angeles, guys. What y'all think about what we just saw when it comes to Iran and Israel? Should America get involved in what they got going on over there, man? You know, just like Dustin said, they get into it every 10 to 15 years. You know, the same kind of way. What's up, K-Cell? They love from Kenya. What's up? So right now we're just kind of waiting on Mayor Bass to basically come and deliver this speech. But as you see, it says City of Los Angeles Emergency Operations Center. So any second now, because it is the 7 o'clock hour, any second now, she should be pulling up to the podium in order to let us know what's going on over there. Y'all know we stand with it. As long as it's going, we most definitely in the building, man. But I just think that's crazy, man. That they are trying to involve us in their mess, man. Look, dog, y'all fight your own battles. We ain't got nothing to do with that. We ain't got nothing to do with that. That's all I'm saying. Iran wasn't playing. They jumped out there. They jumped out there straight on it. They felt threatened. They did what they had to do. All right. As we wait on them, let's go over here to this feed I just pulled up on. Hold up. As soon as she takes the podium, I'll come back to it. All right, so they saying, oh, this most definitely ain't right. Hold up. This most definitely ain't right. I wonder why she's so late, guys. As we wait for them to basically deliver this this speech. Man, I'm with you. We see true statements from both sides as well as false statements. I'm neutral on all this for real, for real. Absolutely, K-Cell. I'm not picking no side. I'm on the side of right. Whichever way that may be, I'm on the side of right. Man, I should have just ended and came back. This is taking way too long. Yeah, they are taking forever. So we got something that's new from the appeals court. Somebody telling them to resist. Y'all want to see some action bad as hell. The last thing you want is being arrested for protest on a civil matter. Alright, I seen something that just caught my attention. What's up, Thugger? Hold on, we gonna come back to this. Hold up. We gotta go over here. I just seen something that caught my attention, guys. And we'll come back to this. Hold up.
Ruling that is now pausing the return of national on the night that the judge panel
check
on
this out.
the judge panel on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Now they're saying that the appeals sided with Trump.
They include 2 judges appointed by President Trump and 1 appointed by Biden. For more on what's next in this closely watched case, we're joined now by Laura Dickinson, Lyle T. Alverson Professor of Law at the George Washington University. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
All right, so Laura, first of all, what do you make of the Circuit Court's ruling that is now pausing the return of National Guard troops from President Trump, the Trump administration, to the state of California?
Well, I see them as sort of returning to the original status quo after Trump deployed the National Guard. So I don't think we necessarily can read into it, what they will decide on the merits.
Okay, so what can we take from the fact that they have paused it until a hearing next week? Because we point to some of the things that the federal judge said in this case. Now, the administration's lawyers in court said that the court had no authority to review the president's decision on whether the National Guard is needed. And in fact, the judge said this, quote, "That's the difference between a constitutional government and King George. It's not the leader. It's not that the leader can simply say something and then it becomes it," pointing to the fact that the president, in effect, in what he's ruling, just made that decision unilaterally, which bypassing any kind of legal maneuvers to do so. So when you consider what that judge said, what do you think that the Ninth Circuit Court used as their premise for saying, hey, we're going to hold on to this until the hearing next Tuesday?
Well, I think they want to wait until they actually review the briefing. I mean, I think what the district court said was that Trump's order federalizing the National Guard and sending it into California without Governor Newsom's consent, that was very likely illegal under statute and under the Constitution, that there was a likelihood of success, that California was likely to succeed on their arguments. Right, the statutory arguments were that the conditions for federalizing the National Guard were not met. This is not an invasion. The government didn't even argue that it was an invasion. Invasion is when a foreign country invades. But the other 2 conditions are, whether this is a rebellion or whether this is, there's been some massive failure to execute the laws. And Judge Breyer concluded that neither other condition was met, that this isn't a rebellion and this isn't a sort of a high bar where there's a massive failure to execute the laws of the United States. Now, the Trump administration is arguing that there should be deference to the president's interpretation of those statutory terms. And so we'll have to see where the Ninth Circuit will come down on that question. But the district court felt that there was a likelihood of success on the merits of the state of California. And he also noted the argument that the deployment was an intrusion into the 10th Amendment, which reserves to the states functions like law enforcement and policing in the ordinary course, in the first instance, unless for some reason it's under federal control.
What do you make, though, of the argument that that the lawyers are making that what the president wants should supersede everything else?
Well, historically, the courts have deferred to the president's interpretation of other statutes related to the federal deployment of the military. For example, a precursor to the Insurrection Act which was litigated over 100 years ago, the courts were quite deferential to the president's interpretation of the terms of that statute. But that was a different statute, as Judge Breyer noted, where in this statute, there's no discretion in the terms of the statute. These conditions have to be met. So he was arguing that that's really different. This statute that the president used is really different from the other statute that was interpreted in a case where the court deferred to the president's authority. But to be sure, courts have in general given great deference to the president's interpretation of statutes in the national security area.
That is probably the key thing worth understanding here is how the courts have ruled in the past, but we'll see what happens when the three-panel judge meet again next week, Tuesday, and see what their decision is. One quick question. If that process happens, that the federal government has to turn control of the National Guard back over to the state, how does that happen? How does that enforcement happen?
Yeah, well, I mean, that means that, by the terms of the court order, if there were such an order that were in place, Governor Newsom would have control over the National Guard.
But is there an enforcement tool, though, that makes that happen, or can the president still supersede that, even if the court rules against his argument?
Well, I mean, I think, if the president did not follow the court order, if that were to happen, then California would probably try to go back to court to seek further enforcement within the court, and we've seen that in some other cases.
Right. Okay, it's very interesting to follow this go through and see where power lies in government. Laura Dickinson, Lyle T. Alverson, professor of law at the George Washington University. Thank you so much for joining us and providing your insight. This issues.
All right, so that's what I seen. It says appeals court blocks judge's order on the National Guard, guys. Wow. So Trump still got a chance. They are most definitely fighting back. Let's see if they start at this press conference. Oh, we got action. We got them stepping in, guys. I guess it should be starting any second now. They have most definitely entered the building. All right, let's get this thing going. I see a lot of officials coming in. Karen Bass most definitely is going to speak. They're finna be talking about the riots, basically the protesters in LA, guys. Is what we waited on. We care, sir. We care. If you don't care, get out of here. And there's Karen Bass. She has entered the building, guys.
You want us to squeeze in more? Was that your yes? Okay. Yes.
Let's see what they got to say.
The request is to get in tighter, but I don't want anybody to be blocked. Lola? Okay, I don't want you to be blocked. Okay. Everybody over here? All right.
Here we go.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's an honor for me to be joined by over 20 legislators from Sacramento and from Washington, D.C. We want to make sure that everybody understands that Los Angeles is united. There's no daylight between all of us, and all of us understand that we are here today in this situation because of raids that happened in our city on Friday.
Let me turn this music down.
The raids are in multiple cities within our county. I always raise the point that the day before, on Thursday of last week, everything was peaceful in Los Angeles. Nothing was happening here. Nothing was going on that warranted the behavior of the federal government over the last few days. We are here today because the raids have caused fear and panic, because they felt empowered that they could shove and cuff a U.S. senator. How could you come to town and say you are rescuing Los Angeles and you don't even know the U.S. senator?
Can Bass giving us
We're here
speech.
today because we are clear that we are a test case, and they want to see just how far federal overreach can go. Can the federal government come in and seize power from a state and from a local jurisdiction? How much will the American people put up with? How much will Californians put up with? How much will Angelenos put up with? How much will people from all of the other 88 cities in our county put up with? And we're here to tell you that we're not going to put up with it.
This
We're
is
not going
live
to solve
right now,
anything
guys.
by chasing people at car washes, by intimidating families near schools, or by sending troops into an American city. It breaks my heart to think about a milestone event in a family, such as a graduation from an elementary school, or from a junior high, or from a high school, and that families feel that they cannot go to the graduation. Are people in an emergency room worried that maybe they will come in and be detained? Are people in homeless shelters? What happened to the goal of violent felons, gang members? What happened to that? I have a hard time believing that the day laborers who each day try to survive by getting a day's work is a threat to our city. So think about all that is going on in the world today, and then ask yourself, why, if all of these troops are deployed here, why are there more military troops in Los Angeles than in Iraq? Just think about that for a minute.
This is live,
So we're here
guys.
today because we're not going to let anyone divide us. We're here today to show the world that the real America, what the real America is all about, what Los Angeles is all about. And Los Angeles is about diversity, is about embracing the immigrant population, is about celebrating the fact that there are sectors of our economy that frankly would not function if it was not for immigrant labor. So tomorrow across the country there will be demonstrations that are planned, but now these demonstrations we expect to be even larger because of what has happened in our city. But we do call on people over the weekend to demonstrate peacefully, to exercise your First Amendment right, to not play into the hands where it could be used as a pretext to roll out troops in our city. So let me just be clear about the truth of LA. We are a city of almost 4 million people. So the protests, and some that have evolved into violence, understand have taken place on about 1 square mile of this city that is 500 square miles. So be clear, LA is not under fire all throughout the city. You are talking about a very small part of the city.
Mayor Can Bass speaks on the protest live, guys.
Of people have demonstrated peacefully. And let me at this point introduce our local Congresswoman, Sydney Kamlacher, who is here representing the House, along with a number of her colleagues.
Her name is Susan Kamlacher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to
What
thank
a
the
name.
Mayor for your unwavering leadership during these challenging and unprecedented times. Thank you for bringing us here together. I am Sydney Kamlacher-Dove. I am the Congresswoman for the 37th Congressional District. Many of these raids have been taking place in my district, throughout the district. I am here with colleagues from Congress, Representative Takano, Representative Chu, and Representative Torres. Mark Takano, Judy Chu, Norma Torres. So, California has the largest immigration population in this country. We are also the 4th largest economy in the world. There is a relationship between those two data points. California and Los Angeles is also the entertainment epicenter. So it is no wonder that Donald Trump brought his production to California. But
Well, they calling it a production, guys.
This is not about immigration reform.
They say it's not about
These
immigration.
agents are coming into our cities and they are detaining U.S. citizens. They are detaining legal immigrants, and they are detaining immigrants who are going through the legal process with their status. They are running into apparel stores. They are running onto farms. They are running into diners, and they are snatching our community members, our friends, and our family members. This is not immigration reform. I have to say that. Let me also say, not only is this impacting our communities and our neighbors, it is impacting our businesses and it is impacting this economy. Taxpayers are putting $134 million for these raids to happen.
134
Stephen
million.
Miller made an arbitrary number of 3,000 people that he wants rounded up every single day. Agents are not giving identification. They are not showing judicial warrants. They are not inquiring to even see who it is that they are trying to detain. I thought they were looking for folks with criminal records, but it seems like they are looking for anyone they can find.
Anybody without papers is what's going on
now. It is also
now.
very important. This is why members of Congress are here. What is not being discussed is how this is a decoy for the hundreds of billions of dollars that Donald Trump is taking from us to cut Medicaid. It will close community clinics that are being raided. It will shut down doctors'
Los Angeles officials
that are being
speaking on the raids
educational funding
in Los
for children
Angeles, guys.
with disabilities. He is cutting funding for our small businesses. He is cratering this economy with his taxes. And then on top of that, he is costing this city and this state tens of millions of dollars with this economic and social trauma. We are here standing in solidarity. These are members from up and down the state who have come here to say stop. Stop this madness. Stop this economic trauma. And if you are not here working lawfully and not detaining and brutalizing U.S. senators and union leaders, then you need to go immediately. With that, I would like to introduce Senate Pro Tem of the California State Senate, Mike McGuire.
They brought out the big guns today, guys.
Good evening. I want to take a moment to say thank you so much, Congresswoman, for your advocacy and your fight. I also want to mention Mayor Bass. Mayor Bass' city hand has been guiding the city through some of the most tumultuous times the city and county of Los Angeles has seen in over a century. And I think we owe her a debt of gratitude for her incredible work in standing strong for the most vulnerable. And I want to say thank you so much, Mayor, and we're grateful to partner with you. I'm joined today by several senators, Senator Durazo, Richardson, Smallwood Cuevas, Menjivar and Perez, and we are incredibly grateful for your work representing the city and county of Los Angeles. You know, it's not lost on us that it's been 60 years. 60 years since the National Guard was deployed over a governor's objection.
Let's go.
And the last time that this type of deployment happened was to help kids walk to school in a segregated South. Fast forward to 2025, now in Los Angeles, the National Guard has been deployed to separate kids from their parents.
Man,
America has faced
kids from
tremendous
their
peril
parents.
over the last 248 years, and today we are at one of the most dramatic tipping points of our democracy. There is no justification in a democracy for the un-American federal siege of a great American city in this great county. Warrantless arrests, federalizing the National Guard, mobilizing federal troops on California soil, racial profiling,
Los
of American
Angeles
citizens,
officials, guys, speaking
detaining
on
law-abiding residents,
the National
a lack
Guard
of
being
due process for
deployed to Los
detainees,
Angeles.
throwing U.S. senators to the ground for speaking freely, and threatening the arrest of American governors. These aren't acts of a normal American president. These are acts of an authoritarian government, candidly acts of a thug. And let me be clear, California will never back down. We will bend to no king, and the people of California will prevail. The harder President Trump comes for the Golden State, the more unified California will be. Californians are always on the side of good, the side of justice, and the people will always win over the power of a few. And I'd like to end it right here with this and talk about our mutual aid system in the state of California. The state of California has the largest and most effective emergency response and law enforcement networks in the United States of America. And I can't be any more clear about what I'm about to say. The state stands ready to meet any and all public safety and emergency response requests from Mayor Bass and the Board of Supervisors for the County of Los Angeles. The State Office of Emergency Services has been and will continue to meet any and all needs for requests of assistance. Candidly, the Mayor is working with the State Office of Emergency Services tomorrow for the marches that will be taking place across the city. And you know who knows this? President Trump. He knows that we can take care of
They on Trump top, guys.
And it's time to end this siege and stand down. Otherwise, Californians will continue to stand up for our people. It is now my honor to be able to introduce the Speaker of the California State Assembly, Robert Rivas.
They done brought out the big guns, guys. Los Angeles say they ain't going for it. They is on Trump top.
So California, we face one of the most challenging moments in recent memory. And not because our people are divided, but because our democracy is being tested from the very top.
What's
the
up,
Trump
Belinda?
administration's recent actions, unilaterally federalizing and deploying our National Guard, conducting sweeping immigration raids in our neighborhoods, and now forcibly removing a sitting U.S. Senator from a Homeland Security meeting. These are not just abuses of power. They are assaults on the rule of law. They are violations of decency. They are acts of desperation from a president who thrives on division, thrives on chaos,
I told y'all they
and
on
who
Trump
fears accountability. Now let me be absolutely clear. Here in California, we are not going to be intimidated. I stand here as the first Speaker of the California State Assembly, born to immigrant farm workers. It's personal. My family came to this country from Mexico, seeking opportunity. Opportunity that they found in the agricultural fields of California. Opportunity that they found in the classroom of our public schools. And in the promise of this state. And that promise still belongs to every single Californian, no matter where they were born or how long they have been here in our state. I was recently reminded that throughout our history, from the internment of Japanese Americans to Proposition 187, to the mass deportations of the 1950s, California has weathered moments when fear was weaponized against our most vulnerable. But in every single case, we rose, we organized, we resisted, and we did it with courage, with community, and without violence. Without violence. And now, in this moment, we must do the same again. And I urge every Californian, do not take Donald Trump's bait. Do not allow his cruelty to spark chaos in our streets. Here in Los Angeles,
they on Trump top, guys.
Local leaders, law enforcement, they're working hard to keep us safe. And we must work just as hard to keep the peace. This is a time for unity. It's a time for strength, for love of neighbor, and to every immigrant family living in fear at this moment. Know this, you all belong here. You matter, and your state is fighting for you. That's why I'm proud to be here with Mayor Bass.
California said they not going, guys.
Our congressional representatives. Proud to stand here with members of the Senate, and incredibly proud to stand here with so many of my assembly colleagues. Tina McKinnon, Lisa Calderon, Blanca Pacheco, Rick Zabur, Celeste Rodriguez, Isaac Bryan, Mike Gibson, Abelino Valencia, Almer Suchi, Nick Schultz, Sade Alawari,
K-Cell, it ain't looking good, dog.
Jose Solache, Mark Gonzalez. Hope I didn't miss anybody. I said Zabur.
Sherry said they will leave one way or another.
Jessica Colosa, Mike Fong. There's a lot of us in the assembly. We're all here. But I'm proud to stand with everyone here today. And please let history show that in the face of tyranny, California stood its ground. We did not flinch. Thank you all so very much. And I want to invite the next speaker, Representative Ms. Judy Chu.
I'm Congressmember Judy Chu from Los Angeles County's San Gabriel Valley. I am here to stand with Mayor Karen Bass and all the members of the California delegation as well as the other elected officials as we express our collective outrage over Donald Trump's attack on Los Angeles and his attacks on our immigrant communities and on all our communities. As we speak, there are U.S. Marines deployed on the streets of Los Angeles. The president has seized control of our California National Guard.
Everybody done came up there and said something about Trump.
To arrest the governor for political reasons. And just yesterday, we saw Senator Alex Padilla get forcibly removed and violently handcuffed simply for trying to get answers from the Secretary of Homeland Security. This is unprecedented, dangerous, and authoritarian. We will not stand by and allow this to happen in the United States of America. When Trump's immigration enforcement came storming through downtown Los Angeles, sweeping up not just immigrants, but even U.S. citizens, and hauling them away to detention centers, I knew we had to act. I got a call from advocates sick with worry about the fate of those arrested because family members and lawyers could not contact them. They had no way of knowing whether these detainees had food or medicines. So the next morning, Representatives Derek Tran, Gil Cisneros, and I drove straight to Adelanto Detention Facility to exercise our lawful constitutional responsibility of oversight. But when we showed up, ICE actually closed the chain link fences right in front of our eyes and put chains and locks around the fence. They refused to let us in, defying the law that states that Congress has the right of oversight of any DHS facility at any time. And so, what is clear is that ICE believes it's above the law because Trump believes he's above the law. And that's why he sent in those National Guard members without the governor's approval. But we are here to say we stand with our constituents and immigrant communities across this country. We stand with the right of Americans and immigrants to peacefully dissent against the administration and to protest peacefully. We must put an end to Donald
Somebody
Trump's
put demon rats. Lord, have mercy.
Attacks on immigrant communities and on our Constitution.
This is Los Angeles speaking out against Trump. All California officials.
Mark Takano.
Giving a live press conference that's happening right now.
I'm pleased to be here with my former colleague, now the mayor of Los Angeles, and all of the members from the California delegation, the Congress, and members of the legislature and the leadership of the legislature, to stand here in solidarity with my friends and compadres from Los Angeles. I represent a constituency in Riverside County, the communities of Riverside, Moreno Valley, Paris, and Jurupa Valley, the Inland Empire. And I'm going to tell you, the people of the IE see through the sham being perpetrated by this president. And what sham what am I talking about? The sham that there is massive uprisings here in Los Angeles, which the Los Angeles Police Department cannot properly manage, along with the sheriff. The images that distort reality coming out from the television screen, which keep focusing on, there's some incidences of property damage and some attacks on law enforcement, which I and all of us, we condemn. If you break the law, you will be held accountable. But those images distort the impression to the rest of America, and the president is intentionally perpetrating a sham, an expensive one at that. $134 million, as Sidney Kamler-Dove said, for the deployment of 4,000, actually the federalization of 4,000 guardsmen, another 700 Marines. As of last Monday, I got a briefing from the leader of the National Guard. They have a very narrow mission of defending 3 federal buildings. 50 persons at each of those buildings. Relieved by another 150 hours, that's 300.
He might
so
be.
About 1,600 of the original 2,000 are not being used. $134 million. Another $45 million being spent on this glorifying parade tomorrow in Washington, D.C. of our military assets. That's nearly $200 million. That is being, I would say, a very good subject for Doge to look at, because they're wanting to pursue this disastrous, big, bad, ugly bill, which is going to take away health care from 15 million people. But yet they have enough money to unnecessarily send in military, and illegally, by the way, military forces into L.A. I want to address Senator Padilla's...
Melinda say this guy's a robot. Let's go.
Padilla, as he was trying to simply ask a question of a cabinet secretary, who I'm sure is not answering questions, period. They threw him down, handcuffed him. Look, Secretary of Education Linda McMahon crashed my press conference in front of the Department of Education. Nobody took her down and handcuffed her, even though she's the worldwide wrestling leader of all of that. I'm sure that would have been great entertainment. And that's all about, it's entertainment that they're trying to create, distraction from the sham that they're perpetrating. And this is in no way how a U.S. Senator should be treated. Finally, let me just say that this is a moment of an authoritarian president who wants to normalize the idea that the military is his personal police force that he can use to enforce his policies. I would say to those people who want to protest and rise up, this is a moment for us to be careful and to do so with thoughtfulness. Not
his own Trump time.
Because if there was a moment when you ask yourself, looking at history, would I have crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge and risked my head being cracked open in the service of a bigger idea of America? That is the question you should be asking yourself now. But realize the sacrifice and the discipline of those freedom marchers who crossed that bridge. They did not distract with violence. Non-violence was their principle. If you want to ask yourself the question, would I have sat in the back of the bus in defiance of unfair laws? This is the time to ask those questions and to also think carefully about the tactics. It is time to use our voices. It is time to put a check on this authoritarianism coming out of Washington. I want to now recognize and bring up to the podium my colleague from the San Gabriel Valley, Norma Torres. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mayor Bass, thank you so much.
It looking like a man.
And your love for the city of Los Angeles.
Make sure if you're new to the channel, you subscribe.
Very special place
right now, we're listening to Los Angeles officials express their disgust for Trump sending the National Guard to LA.
The community here as a 911 dispatcher, taking your calls when you have an emergency. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, I am demanding full accountability and reimbursement for the local costs incurred, including injuries to local officers and damages caused by the chaos unleashed when the Trump administration recklessly deployed the military and ICE agents into our communities. They are the ones who created this unrest, and they are the ones that need to foot the bill. California, by the way, in 2022, the last year that we have on record, paid over $262 billion to the federal government. It is the federal government that is on welfare from California. During this appropriations week, our committee, we were supposed to take up
and this is live, guys,
on Homeland Security. We failed to do that. Why? Because Republicans did not want to be put on notice. I want to direct some of my comments to the Latino community that could be watching at this moment. Esta semana hemos visto
oh Lord, somebody translate the chat.
Inaceptable en las acciones de migración federales y en el abuso del poder, especialmente enfocado aquí en Los Ángeles y comunidades cercanas. ICE está persiguiendo a residentes de California en sus trabajos, en sus casas, en sus calles, todo para cumplir cuotas.
Absolutely,
Estas son tácticas preocupantes que violan nuestras leyes y los derechos legales.
Make sure y'all keep getting those likes up, man. We're 25 away from having 600 on that like. If you in the building and have not hit that like button, click the three dots, hit that thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Están cuidando, quitándoles el estatus legal a migrantes.
All right, thank you. Marina says
Como
she's
miembro del
blaming
Comité de
Trump.
Asignaciones del Congreso, estoy exigiendo que haya responsabilidad total y que el gobierno federal pague todos los costos locales que han causado, incluyendo oficiales heridos y daños materiales por el caos que provocaron cuando la administración de Trump mandó al ejército y a los marines y más agentes de ICE a nuestras comunidades.
I heard Trump name come out.
Ellos son los que están provocando esta desorden. Esta semana en el Comité de Asignaciones se suponía que íbamos a tener la oportunidad de pedir cuentas mientras discutimos el presupuesto para seguridad nacional del próximo año. Pero los republicanos de la Cámara cerraron la Junta porque no quieren dar cuentas. Mandar a la Guardia Nacional y a los marines a nuestras calles sin autoridad legal ni coordinación con líderes locales no solo es peligroso, es ilegal y no tiene sentido. Están malgastando dinero y sinceramente dañando
Miss Pooh Bear says she said something about a salad from McDonald's and some ice.
Que es la base de los Estados Unidos. Cuando hay desorden causada por prácticas abusivas o negligentes, exijo la responsabilidad total y que se paguen los daños y las lesiones causadas a nuestras comunidades locales. Es nuestro deber constitucional asegurar que los fondos federales no se vayan a gastar, abusar o silenciar a comunidades con estos ingresos. Sin embargo, esta administración ha dejado claro lo que quieren. Está dispuestos a violar derechos civiles, enforzarlos en las comunidades latinas y usar agencias federales para crear miedo. No están persiguiendo criminales, están atacando a las personas trabajadoras que son la base de la economía de este país. Tenemos que alzar la voz y exigir transparencia, justicia y responsabilidad. Nuestras comunidades deben participar con protestas pacíficas y también ser testigos de los
Let's go,
abusos,
Miss Fat.
tomando fotos y
Miss Fat
videos.
said, she
Muchas
said
gracias.
they will toss Trump salad and breadsticks. Lord have
I
mercy.
now want to invite Assemblymember Tina McKenna to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Assemblymember Tina McKenna, and I represent the 61st Assembly District, and it is not on fire. Feel free to come and visit the 61st Assembly District adjacent to LA. It's beautiful. I am also the LA County Delegation Chair, and I would like to start out by thanking my Speaker and Pro Tem for coming up and supporting us today. I'd also like to thank our Mayor Karen Bass for her brilliant leadership in leading the city in this last week. I serve as the chair of the LA County Legislative Delegation. My friends, LA is strong, diverse, and resilient. Our resilience is our strength, and we will not be intimidated by anyone threatening our peace.
Somebody said I'd rather have
This
sign
president
language.
and his
Y'all crazy.
administration, they not like us. I am so proud of AG Bonta and Governor Newsom for they secured an emergency restraining order yesterday blocking President Trump's takeover of the state's guards.
Somebody said,
This is a win for
sit
America.
down.
But a 3-person judge appellate panel will hold the restraining order until June 17th, and then they will make a decision. I am so proud of our governor and our AG.
Yeah, she most definitely said they not like us. Shout out Kendrick Lamar.
Judges, this is your time. The judges, we are looking, America is counting on you to follow the law, counting on you to follow the Constitution. And so this is your time. When we look back 10 years ago, 10 years later, 20 years later, we're going to look back at these judges, at our court systems, and we're going to see if it really works. So America is on your shoulders, judges, and we're counting on you to do what you're supposed to do.
Man.
Also, I'd like to tell a really quick story
done been
about
spending
5
too
nannies
much time
today
on Twitter
that were walking some babies. They took the babies to the park, and ICE came upon them. They ripped the children away from them, put the children in vans, took the women, got in touch with the parents. One of those women were a U.S. citizen. The only reason why they didn't take them was because of her boss. Now, they would have taken this woman and locked her up, and I don't know when she would have gotten out. But this is what's happening on the streets. This is what's happening on the streets of LA, and nannies are not criminals. So what I have to tell you, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, is to please stop. Stop with the nonsense. Thank you. And next, I'd like to welcome up my co-chair.
She told Trump
Senator
to
Maria
stop
Elena
with the
Tabanco.
nonsense. Quote unquote, the BS.
Buenas tardes. I too want to thank Mayor Bass for her courage and for her leadership. All my colleagues who are here, you could see at the different levels of government, we are definitely all united. I am proud to be the state senator representing this area, exactly where we are today, exactly where the detention center, exactly the streets around the detention center and the courts.
Rick said, this
and I
is
want to
Peggy.
share with
Let's
you
go.
very quickly. It is these streets that I and others over the last 3 decades have organized marches and rallies and demonstrations in support of our immigrant communities. We have organized rallies and actions exercising our right to protest. From as small as 25 people to 5,000
We are 9 likes
people
away from
to a
600,
million
guys.
people.
Continue to double tap that screen.
We have never, ever had this happen in our city.
Let's scream about it.
Where you have military taking over, where you have people being chased in our neighborhoods, and all of this just to create fear in our immigrant community. But not just in those that are immigrants, those who are the children and the grandchildren of immigrants. People who have come from all over the world. From all over the world. We're proud to be the place, to be the second largest of any community. Armenian community, the Mexican community, Central American community, you name it. They're here from all over the world. We are so proud of our welcoming them. We are so proud of their hard work in Los Angeles, in California, and overall contributing to the whole nation. We are so proud. That's why we have laws that respect them. That's why we've passed
y'all is tripping in this chat.
That will help those
Didi says deport, then deport some more.
Deserve, based on the hard work of their
y'all is out off the chain, man.
The Constitution is clear. Due process applies to all people on American soil. Everyone. And that is not happening today. Why? Why? Because they're immigrants? Because they look Mexican? Is that why that's happening? Is that why the president...
We 5 likes away from 600, guys. Click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Lo que estamos presenciando es un ataque contra nuestras comunidades migrantes y nuestra democracia. La Constitución es clara. El debido proceso se aplica a todas las personas, no a las que ellos escogen, a todas las personas en territorio de esta nación. Sin embargo, estamos presenciando redadas de ICE que le niegan protecciones constitucionales. Vamos a seguir con nuestras organizaciones de comunidad, con los sindicatos, seguir organizando, protegiendo a las comunidades inmigrantes. No están solos. No están solos. Aquí es una prueba, una muestra de todas las organizaciones que existen, que vamos a seguir defendiendo hasta el último a todos los californianos, todos los angelinos, todos los que viven en Estados Unidos. No vamos a dejar que nos dividan, no vamos a dejar que nos quiten nuestros propios derechos. Y quiero recordarles que aquí, en estas mismas calles, es en donde organizamos las demostraciones, las marchas pacíficas, no violentes, y por eso tenemos el respeto de toda la nación. Thank you very much, and I would like to introduce Assemblymember Mark Gonzalez.
Dang, is everybody gonna speak?
Good evening. I want to echo the heart and soul of what's been shared tonight. My name is Mark Gonzalez, and I'm proud to represent California's 54th Assembly District, a resilient, beautiful mosaic that includes downtown Los Angeles, Boyle Heights, Montebello, Pico Union, Koreatown, Commerce, and Little Tokyo. Communities where immigrants don't just live, they lead. 1 week ago,
it seems that everybody's going to speak, guys.
Destabilizing without warning.
Due process. You want them to king up your brother because he has on the same shirt as someone they're looking. Y'all better slow it down. It's like reverse colonization. Just unbelievable. All right, Lorena Green.
I'm also a proud resident of Chinatown, bordering downtown LA, just half a mile from here. Again, this week I've heard the same stories over and over. Kids and families left behind. Grandparents afraid to go to the dialysis appointments. Families afraid just to simply go to church. Parents afraid to go to work. Kids too scared to show up for their last day of school or even their graduation. Children walking alone to buy groceries because their parents fear that ICE is outside.
Make sure y'all subscribing to the channel if you're new.
They're cleaners, they're construction workers, but we're also doctors. We're lawyers, we're teachers, we're police officers, we're scientists, we're firefighters, and we're politicians. And ICE raids that are sweeping through our cities and our state, and in the shadows with fear and cruelty, families were torn apart. Children woke up to silence where there should have been laughter. This isn't public safety. This is psychological warfare on working families.
Wow.
Let's be clear. Under the leadership of our Mayor, Karen Bass, our Chief McDonald and Sheriff Luna and CHP and our local agencies that are managing this moment. Thousands of sworn officers already serve the city, the county, and the state. We didn't need federal troops. We don't need Marines. We need leadership that respects the Constitution. Trump claimed victory before the National Guard even hit the ground. That wasn't leadership. That's propaganda.
What's up, Shirley?
And now he militarizes our streets, he unleashes ICE to violate due process and tears families apart. Our National Guard took an oath to the Constitution, not to one man's agenda. But we will not meet cruelty with chaos. We will not trade justice for destruction. To every Californian, this weekend, protest. You march, you organize, but you do it with love, you do it with discipline, and with the courage that built this city. Because here in Los Angeles, we don't run from the storm. We rise through it. We turn pain into power. We turn fear into faith. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. We will rise, not just for ourselves, but for each other. And I want to thank the colleagues who are here from all over the state, my speaker, and to our pro tem, our county, our city, but more importantly as well to our staff.
What's up, Robert?
Behind the scenes, doing the essential work and the important job to support all of us.
I ask that everybody in the building who is not subscribed to the channel, subscribe, y'all. Also, click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel.
This is our California National Guard. This is Los Angeles. This is California. Our faith is stronger than their fear. And I'd like to invite up next to me my brother from the neighboring Assembly District who last week went through his own personal experience trying to defend his community, Assemblymember José Solache.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es José Luis Solache.
I'm Lícolo, Lícolo.
De Los Ángeles. Primero, un agradecimiento a nuestra alcaldesa Karen Bass, que ha hecho un buen trabajo en la comunidad aquí de Los Ángeles.
Man, speak English, dog.
Aquí, las senadores, senadoras, asambleístas. Yo represento una comunidad trabajadora.
Man, how is you a politician just speaking Spanish? Speak English.
Todos aquellos que radican afuera de Los Ángeles, en California, en toda la nación y a la comunidad internacional. En Los Ángeles no hay guerra. En Los Ángeles hay comunidad trabajadora. Comunidad.
You might be saying some good stuff, dog, but I can't understand you. It sounds like
sueños de trabajar, de comprar una casa. Aquí no hay guerra. Toda la comunidad internacional, nacional, hablen con sus representantes. Ocupamos su ayuda. Aquí Los Ángeles, qué tristemente que en mi distrito.
I heard Mexican in Los Angeles, that's it.
En una clínica médica, donde hay familias y niños que ocupan atención médica, había agentes federales. En mi municipio de Linwood, caravana de agentes federales a Plaza México, donde la gente va a contribuir a nuestra economía, a comprar.
Oh, okay, all right, Miss Green. She said he's not talking to all of us, that's why. Well, I can't understand none of it. So I know you ain't talking to me.
Agentes federales uniformados con máscaras. Enciérranos la cara. ¿Quién son? Gentes con placas de Texas, Arizona. Esa gente no conoce a nuestra comunidad.
I heard Arizona.
Protegiendo a gente de Home Depot en el estacionamiento.
I heard Home Depot.
¿Dónde están las leyes? Este país está hecho de leyes. ¿Dónde están los documentos que digan que son criminales? No, señores y señoras. Esta comunidad que yo represento, que representamos nosotros, es comunidad trabajadora, que se merece dignidad. Yo represento una comunidad que...
Man, you be quiet. I don't care about Spanish.
Cuando vayan a comer, hay comida, hay gente trabajadora ahí.
I speak English.
Cuando vayan a la escuela, hay maestros, hay directores. Hay gente angelina con mucho corazón. Así que Los Ángeles, comunidad internacional, aquí no hay guerra. Aquí solo hay... Por favor, presidente de Estados Unidos, pare los militares en sus comunidades. No somos criminales. Somos gente con corazón, con sueños, que queremos abogar más por sus comunidades. Me uno hoy a la alcaldesa, a los senadores, asambleístas, a nuestro presidente de la Asamblea, del Senado. Estamos luchando todos los días por ustedes. Y vamos a alzar esta voz que ustedes nos eligieron para hacer. Y este fin de semana, último mensaje a todas las comunidades. Yo sé que mañana es un día muy grande. Háganlo pacíficamente. Porque yo sé que somos personas con dignidad y vamos a tener al presidente de Estados Unidos y a todas las comunidades y a todos los policías que sí nos cuidan todos los días, que lo vamos a hacer de una manera respetuosa. ¿Por qué? Porque al igual que muchos de ustedes...
¿Por qué?
Orgullosamente de León, Guanajuato.
Somebody translate what he said,
Yo
because
estaré con comunidad.
I don't have a clue.
Con mi derecho estadounidense, diciendo que no queremos estas realidades en sus comunidades. Gracias, sigan pacíficamente mañana y enseñen lo que van a enseñar, es mucho corazón. Gracias.
Gracias, okay. He spoke his whole thing in Spanish. All right, she taking questions now. Cam Bass.
Quote-unquote bad actors that you have talked about have started to exit the stage. So if you could give us a status update on the curfew and its longevity.
All right, she's talking about the curfew now.
You are in touch now with the State Office of Emergency Services. Let's talk.
All right, Jose said, he said, march with peace and no violence. All right.
To take the streets across Los Angeles and across the state of California.
Well, first of all, let me just say that you are correct. I do think the curfew is making a difference. The people that I have seen on the street now are basically young people who are, were part of the protest, were clearly not part of the violence because they were not protesters, the people that were vandalizing the city. And so what we have seen over the last couple of nights is that the majority of the arrests have not been for violence, looting, or vandalism. It's been for curfew violation and unlawful assembly. And we've seen the numbers go down. And as you know, tomorrow is a national protest that was planned way before what happened here. And that was a protest that is focused on the military parade that I don't know when, if ever, that has happened in our history. And so there are at least 15 protests that will be taking place in the city of Los Angeles. I am sure there will also be protests in other cities in the county.
When it comes to plans, though, in terms of keeping people safe and when people are trying to take to the streets, asking them to demonstrate peacefully.
Exactly.
What about in terms of enforcement?
And so we are comfortable with the law enforcement plan that is in place. It's LAPD, but it's also the sheriffs, as well as some of the surrounding police departments, as well as other counties. So we have enough people here, and there is no need for the National Guard, and there is certainly no need for the U.S. military on the streets of Los Angeles.
Let's go.
It's just not necessary.
She says it's not necessary.
Because people are already outraged by the raids that have taken place and the stories that you've heard. And then to add on top of it a military presence in our city, it's just uncalled for, not necessary, and makes the situation worse.
She's standing on it.
He asked my question.
Oh, well, good.
Mayor, you didn't talk about how long the curfew will stay.
Oh, I'm sorry. There is no termination date. We will see. We are hoping that if the cause of the turmoil ends, which is stopping the raids, then I can almost guarantee you the curfew will go away in short order.
Anyone want to talk about the protest tomorrow?
Sure.
Just a quick, I just want to add that I know that there are dozens and dozens of civil rights organizations,
Peggy's back.
rights organizations like Chairland, Parecen, and others, unions, community-based across the city that are working really hard, organizing and to do their best to keep our demonstrations peaceful, strong, and disciplined.
And let me just say, that is a tradition here. These organizations have existed for, my colleague over here said 30 years, and I think they go back much further than that. They're institutions here. They know how to have peaceful protests, and that has been their history. But I also want to say, one, I want to thank all of my colleagues for being here, for taking the time. I know many of you flew in to be a part of this press conference, and we just so appreciate you and appreciate, of course, the legislative leaders. We started this week I started this week with a phone conference with over 100 mayors because people are concerned about what's happening. You have seen us come together, over 30 local mayors who have expressed their solidarity with each other, but also their concern. Yesterday, you saw over 100 community leaders that were here, all expressing the same concerns. Unfortunately, everybody is compiling stories, and some of the stories are just absolutely egregious. We don't want our city to be in fear, and ironically, the fear that is described out of Washington is not what is happening at all. It's not fear of protesters. It's fear of the federal government. And what does it mean that I stand here and tell you that Angelenos are fearful of our own government? And that is just something that is unacceptable. It's unacceptable in our democracy, and it is most unacceptable in our city and our county.
Thank you. Hi, Madam Mayor, excuse me. My name is Baruch Gonzalez from Mexico, Canal 11. My question is this. A few days ago, Secretary of Security, Christine mentioned that the President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, had encouraged the protest by the Mexican community in LA.
Oh my goodness.
What's your view on this matter?
Well, first of all, I was so proud to welcome her here when she was a candidate, and then very proud to be there to witness her being sworn in as the first female president of the nation of Mexico. And I just think it is just scandalous that someone would make that allegation. And as I said yesterday, my other colleagues here in Congress, we all served with the secretary. Unfortunately, I don't recognize the person anymore. I don't know who this is.
Do you have some message for the Mexicans who are concerned about the situation in LA?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, LA, this was Mexico. LA,
she said this was Mexico.
LA has always welcomed everyone here from around. One of the things I'm the most proud of is that there isn't a country on earth that is not represented here. And I look forward to, in just a year away, having the World Cup here and having all of the countries come in and find that their diaspora is located here. So our pride, our strength is in our diversity and the fact that everybody is represented.
Karen Bass said at one point, California was part of Mexico.
Madam Mayor, sorry. So I know you've been, the other day you mentioned you were reaching out to the White House and trying to get a one-on-one with President Trump to ask him personally to stop the raid. Any luck with that?
Not so much. Not right now. I did put in the request. I had been talking to members of who are close to the administration, and we will wait and see when I get a response. So I'm still hoping.
How are you advising Angelenos who are approached by ICE to respond?
Well, you know what? Most importantly, and I know all of us are involved in this, we want to make sure that everyone knows their rights. Know what
Dude down the river, man. We report on everything, dog. We report on everything, dude down the river. I hear you, but we most definitely report on everything.
Network that organizations have so that if ICE is cited, that people know and they know to be careful. But most important, to know your rights. It's very difficult, and you can imagine very frightening, if somebody comes and they have all of this gear on and they're completely masked. And you know that there have been incidences. We haven't seen this happening in LA so far, but there have been a number of incidences of criminals essentially impersonating ICE officers. And so it's really important for the population to know how to stay down by the whether river. They should have contact or not. And then, of course, a helpline where they could get legal resources. Sure. Yes. Yes. Well, let me tell you that it was the business owners that came to us because when the protests reached, and again, I'm sorry, let me be clear, it is not the protest, okay? What happens after the protest to people who are not connected when there was looting and violence in terms of going into buildings, breaking windows, and all of that, they were very, very concerned that there had been an escalation and very much pleaded for a curfew. But let me say, though, that this curfew does not mean that people should not be in the downtown area. If you're here to go to a restaurant, if you're here to go to a play, if you're here because you are working, understand that the police are not going to target you. I do think that our police department can make the distinction.
Any other questions of the camera?
Thank you. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Sure.
I just want to add something that was mentioned with our mayor earlier today. There's a massive difference between protesting peacefully and narcissistic agitators who are coming out here to destroy our landmarks in our community, our small businesses and breaking windows. Our elders live in this community. They're my constituents, they're my friends, they're family. And so there is a massive difference between going out there to protest this administration and taking advantage of the situation for your own political clout, for your own gain, and for your own likes on Instagram. This is not what this is about. You are destroying the very movement that you came to support by being here and destroying our city of Angels.
And then for our businesses, you have rights as well. And so ICE can only come in to public spaces. So if they're in the parking lot and they're in the lobby, that's a public space. They cannot come inside of the Home Depot. They can't come inside of your mattress center, your auto shop without a judicial warrant. And so businesses, you also have rights. You can look on Attorney General Rob Bonta's website. You can find them there. Thank you.
Tell them to know their rights, man. I told y'all.
I would like to just really highlight something that I said in Spanish. I primarily did it because of Spanish media.
Well, thank you, sir.
Very
You can
important.
speak English.
As elected officials, and to all our smaller cities, there's 88 cities in LA County. Mayor Bass leads the largest part. There's 87 other cities. As people go and demonstrate our constitutional right to express ourselves tomorrow morning, we elected officials encourage everyone to do it peacefully. Because, as I said in Spanish, do it with a lot of heart. To go and advocate for our immigrant community. And to those
you should have said it in English at first.
Violently and wrongly, we do not stand with you. We stand with those that do it peacefully, with heart, and with a lot of courage. Because the moment the one person does a mistake, we get blamed. And I will not stand as a representative, and to all my mayors and council members that are leading peaceful protests out there, join them in doing peacefully. We are better than that. We believe in you, and that's all we ask. Let's show the president and this nation and this world that we Angelinos are strong and that we will demonstrate peacefully. Thank you.
Okay, we're about to wrap up. I would just want to mention one point is that now we have Republicans in Congress who are questioning whether or not the leaders of the immigrant rights organizations here were complicit. We're actually like the question about President Sheinbaum, supporting financially the protests. Well, there are members of the immigrant rights community now that are coming under question, which to me is just laying the basis for federal investigations. And so that's why I'm so glad that we have the congressional delegation that we have here in Los Angeles and all of these legislators who have played just an incredible role. Thank you so much. We are going to be here until ICE leaves. Thank you.
She said they're going to be there until ICE leaves. You know what I'm saying? So we heard from Mayor Bass, as well as the rest of her people, that's her conglomerates. They most definitely gave a spiel. And they most definitely blame Trump for a lot of what's going on in Los Angeles as far as the rioters and things of that nature, and for the National Guard being there, and they don't like it not one bit. This is Everything News. We most definitely report on Everything News. So I know a lot of people are just here for Trump's side, or whatever. But man, I report on everything. I most definitely stayed live long enough to catch what Mayor Bass had to say about this whole situation, and if anything breaks off with the riots later on, I'll most definitely be back. Make sure if you're in the building and you haven't hit that like button, that you tap your screen 2 times, double tap your screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new. We stayed all the way through, man. I gave y'all everything that I seen. Shout out to my moderators, shout out to the Sidewalk Gang, shout out to all the new subscribers as well as my old subscribers. I appreciate you all pulling up each and every day to see what we got going on, man. We normally go live Monday through Thursday, 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. So even if YouTube don't send you your notification, make sure you pull up on me. And with that being said, y'all already know how this go. Sidewalk Gang, Check in the house. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be safe. I'm gone.